almost here. I'm almost here. Hello. Just give me a few more moments. Just give me a few more moments. Wait, your cupcake's drinking cola. Nice. I'm here. Hello. Cola drinkers. We love cola. Oh, darn it. I forgot to change my blooming chalk bar drawing. Sorry, my tummy's been bad and I was still cleaning up after building the rest of my assault squad. With jump packs. Yeet. Oh, return of Yarrick. We're on to the return of Yarrick today. Also with this new stuff on the website. But hello, Bob Vinkeeper. Hello, Albertonic. Hello, Alabafon Despia. Hello, Blair Boris. Hello, Erland. Hello, Dennison of Misery. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. Oh, why am I in top chat? I need to be in live chat. Yeah. Also, ooh, World Eaters. World Eaters have a new faction focus. Bonk. Yeah, World Eaters got anything good? They got Rampaging Terrors. They can only have one onslaught stuff. Make things Battle Shock, which is actually more useful now. Cleave. Oh yeah, the ability takes the farm. So this is what Cleave does. Ooh. Each time you gather dice for a cleave weapon, if you only selected one target of that weapon's attacks, add X additional attack for every 5 models that were in the target unit in the select target steps. Ooh. So yeah, it just works like Blast, but with, you know, extra stuff there. Hello, Shigori Kago. How you doing? I heard he got nerfed before release. Kind of. He was 150 points. So he was always like on the ridiculously expensive side for a guardsman. And then they made his abilities worse. Yeah, apologetic clarity. No, apoplectic clarity. No, but yeah, the world eaters are never apologetic. Your unit can ignore modifiers to ballistic skill weapons. That's kind of meh. Unless that becomes more useful in 11th. At the start of a fight phase, a friendly Terminator unit is engaged, make a Blessings of Corn roll, and use results to activate one Blessings of Corn. Under the end phase, that Blessing of Corn is active for friendly Terminator squad unit, in addition to any other Blessings of Corn they currently have. Huh. That's insane! We ate your world, we apologize. Yeet. That is incredibly powerful. +1 weapon skill, that's not bad. Terminator focus thing, but you know, World Eater Terminators aren't the best. And they don't really have a World Eater Terminator unit. Like, that's just a bunch of Chaos Terminators painted red. We've not even got World Eater symbols on them. That's how bad it is. Hey, they do have a... what begins with T, transfers on them, but we're not got any molded symbols, nothing like that. They don't look very World Eatery. Vessels of Wrath. Look at that Demon Prince. Better than our Canvas. When a friendly World Eater's character who's not an epic hero is selected to fight, this character's models has cleave or +1 AP. Okay, that's cool. Every Blessings of Corn ability is active. So yeah. Stratagem. +1 attack, +2 strength. Okay, none of these are super amazing. Apparently Tau are coming tomorrow. Yeah, none of this feels like super amazing to me. If this feels powerful, it's just for... World Eaters don't yet have a unique unit. It's like, if you look at... Finch, oh... A Thousand Suns, they have a unique Terminator unit. Look how cool this is. They have a cool own unique Terminator unit. And they've got these cool missile pods on the shoulders. And these cool extra cannons and an extra sorcerer. You look at the Death Guard. They've got 2 cool Terminator units. They've got the Blight Lord Terminators, which... Look at this. You've even got some Cataphracti plate over here. And you've got the... Oh, wait, here, more Blight Lord Terminators. With special weapons and stuff. And then you've got the Death Shroud Terminators. Who are super cool. You'd think that if anyone would have unique Terminators, the World Eaters might have unique Terminators. But no, they don't. World Eaters hungry. World Eaters are hungry. Yeah, World Eaters have a new faction focus today. Some of the new detachments. So remember, all these detachments are only 1 detachment point though. So, you know, it's fine. Yeah, Death Guard definitely got the most love of the Chaos models. Like, how many unique units does Thousand Suns have? They've got the Sangor Shaman, Scarab Occult. Let's ignore characters for now. Like, named characters. Infernal Master, so that's 4, 5, 6. Then... let's ignore demons. 7, 8. So they've got 8 unique units. Oh wait, 9, because they got for Vortex Beast. 9 unique units for them. Death Guard have how many unique units? 1, 2, 3. Let's ignore that because it's named character. No, Nordic Contagions aren't named characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh wait, ignore him. It's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 unique units and a unique terrain piece as well. 17 unique units for Death Guard. You can see they got a lot of love. And let's look at the... Let's look at the World Eaters. Let's look how many unique units they have. 2 named characters, ignore. Exalted 8-bound. That's literally the same unit. Literally the same unit. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the Lord of Skulls. That one's not included named character, and it's just this model. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. 6 with a Corn Lord of Skulls. And 7 with a Slaughter Bound. So 7. 7 unique units. The rest of them are demons. They also do have the Great Brass Scorpion and the Blood. They've got a bunch of Forge Road models that have all been relegated to Legends. The Blood Slaughterers, and the Brass Scorpion and stuff. But if you want to use them, you can use them in normal Chaos Beast Marines armies as well. They don't even get the Slaughter Bound, do they? Where's the Slaughter Bound? Yeah, they don't get access to the Slaughter Bound. What the heck? At least give Khorne the Slaughter Bound. Oh my goodness. Wait, how much did we say? Was it 9 for 1,000 Suns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it was 9 versus 7 for the World Eaters. Okay, what about the Emperor's Children? You know, if we talk about Ultramarines, you know, getting all the love, but really it's Death Guard. Death Guard get all the love. Why are they ignoring Emperor's Children? We're going to look at Emperor's Children. Okay, so ignore him because he's a named character. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Emperor's Children get 5 things. Now, we can expect Emperor's Children will have less. But if they not only get 5 things, but if they're not allowed for Predators, they're not allowed for Vindicators, they are not allowed... Oh, they're not allowed so much. Their codex is just so thin. It's insane. But if we actually look at the Horus Heresy, I think everyone had like unique Terminators during the Horus Heresy. But the World Eaters have some cool Terminators. Where you got the Rampager squad, but they're basically just Khorne Berserkers. Here we go, Red Butcher Terminator squad. So these are guys with a bunch of chain fists. But basically, Terminators just double-handing various axes and chain fists and stuff. So yeah, I think everyone got unique Terminators in Horus Heresy. No cultists, no Vindicators. Yeah, they don't get cultists. They don't even have possessed, do they? Because the Exalted Blades are more chosen, aren't they? So they don't even have a possessed unit. The World Eaters have Wait, do the Death Guard have a possessed unit? Actually, I don't think anyone has a possessed unit except for World Eaters, do they? Because the World Eaters have Exalted 8-bound, and they're 8-bound. They're basically just possessed. They don't get anything fun. The Death Guard have Poxwalkers instead of cultists. The Khan Berserkers have 2 groups of cultists.
Huff word of the day.
World Eater,
I cast. Glibbo flibbo blibbo blorbo. You now have to take care of the angry dragon named Clopo.
Blobbo blobbo blobbo. You now have to take care of Clopo. Ha! Take that. But yeah, the Thousand Suns have Sangor instead of cultists. To be honest, I feel like each army, so you need to bring the Slangor and give them to the Emperor's Children. You need to get the Pestigor and give them to the Death Guard. And you need to have the Kongor and give them to, you know, the World Eaters. You then need to give everyone their own proper cultists, their own Traitor Guard units. So, you know... Because actually, I think Thousand Suns have some of the coolest cultists in fiction. Like, every time we read about Thousand Sun or, you know, Sentient cultists, they're always so cool. It's like, why don't we have this? I want my Sentient cultists. They're so much cooler than everyone else's. Oh. And we need some proper Traitor Guard, too. Sounds like Cup is asking for the universe. No. It was basically just 1 unit for each of them. So basically for each of them so far, it would be basically 2 units except 3 of the Emperor's Children. So far, and there should be a possessed unit for each of them as well. Yeah, that's what I think. For possessed for Nurgle would probably be like a unit that just explodes on contact with the enemy. Although you could actually say the Poxwalkers are the equivalent of the possessed for... Because, I mean, they basically are possessed at this point. It's frankly disrespectful if they don't get Hell Brutes. Wait a minute, Emperor's Children don't get Hell Brutes either. What the heck? Age of Sigmar dedicated armies are best dedicated. They are, honestly, because they have Felgar, they have Cultists, they have Chosen, and they have Possessed for all of them, don't they? Like, if we look at this, Megakin of Nurgle, they've got... Let's look at them. There's loads of demons here. We ignore the demons. Well, we got our cool trolls over here. You got your Putrid Blight Kings, which are basically your Chosen. You have these guys who are basically cooler. They're basically the equivalent of Traitor Guard, I guess. Pox Wretches are your basically your cultist, your Poxwalkers. You've got your Pestigors. And then you've got your generic Rot Swords that are basically your Space Marines. So these would be for Space Marines. These would be for cultists. These would be for Gauls. These would be for Traitor Guard. And these guys over here would be the Chosen. What about for Possessed? Which ones would be for Possessed? You got different characters and stuff. You got your Knights, which I don't really know we have equivalent. Basically, I guess the Knights would be equivalent of Terminators, I guess. Yeah, I don't know which ones would... Regular Chaos Warriors make great 40k Chosen. Kind of. Honestly, you can make Chosen just by using the best parts from your Legionnaire kit on a few Legionnaires. That's how we used to make Chosen. Yeah, I don't know if they have an equivalent to a possessed, unless the rot swords over here, the Blight King, sorry, are basically for possessed. You got the Cankerborn, I guess. You got loads of weird things here. I like that sorcerer. Also, their armies, you don't have to take a particular detachment to run demons and, you know, normal people together. You can run them both together. Which, you know, it kind of sucks that in 40k you can't do that. But it makes more sense, I guess, because, you know, there's a bigger gap between demons and world eaters and so on. Thousand Suns, though, it's weird that you can't just take demons in every single detachment. And same actually with the Death Guard. Both of them feels like you should just take demons as part of your normal detachments. Hedonets of Slanesh. I know that they've got the proper Slangors. They're huge. You could use them as spawn if you wanted to. Just put them on a bigger base. But let's look. They've got the Blissbarb Archers that are basically equivalent to Traitor Guard. You got your Painbringers that are basically chosen. Blissbarb Archers are basically Traitor Guard. Twin Souls are also basically chosen. Yeah, they don't have the standard Chaos Warriors, do they? Because both of these are well above the standard Chaos Warriors. I guess maybe these guys could, because I have seen them in melee absolutely destroy stuff before. Okay, Games Workshop just hates Slanesh, apparently. Why does Slanesh have so much less than everybody else? Like, you got your entire army just right here. In a single spearhead. Like, the rest of it's just demons. What the heck? Slangors are good for cursed cultists. Oh yeah, they are good for cursed cultists if you combine them with some other form of possessed. Yeah. Slanesh does have the coolest models. Slanesh models are cool. Chaos. Okay, let's look at the equivalents. I know Disciples have seen to some cool models. They've got the exact same Slangors that the Thousand Suns do. Yeah. We've also got this weird ogre. They got the acolytes that are basically just cultists. The Jade Obelisk. I guess the Jade Obelisk is more cultist, and the acolytes might be more to Traitor Guard. But they don't really have any chosen, do they?
Slash Chaos God of Excess gets excessively little for its ranges. The joke of all time. Segorak would be proud.
Honestly, the Thousand Suns have a much better range than these guys do. Like, half of the range is just characters. Character, named character specifically. Fate Master, I guess. Jade. Obelisk. Character. So you got 3 characters here. Both of them are online only. Named character. Actual unit. Is this a character? I think it's a character. Just standard Sangars. The rest of it's just demons. Yeah, this sucks. This is the worst range. Oh my goodness. Maybe we don't have the best ranges. Okay, let's look at Blades of Khorne. Blades of Khorne, I think they're pretty good. I mean, they do have cool models there. It's just such a limited range of most of the non-demons being characters. So, character, named character, and demon. Demon. Terrainy bits and spells. Demon. Okay, so Skull Reapers, they're basic from Warhammer Fantasy. And they're basically like chosen. Demon. Okay, these are Chaos Warriors chosen on Juggernaut. Different form of chosen. Blood Reavers are basically a cool cultist. Cultist character. Cool character. Cool, more elite cultist unit of a standard warrior unit. Okay, they've got basically everything. Again, they do. I actually guess Wrathmongers might be possessed by demons or something, aren't they? Oh no, Twin Souls are probably possessed as well, aren't they? That's why they're called Twin Souls. I do know Slanesh. No, yeah, they're just defaulted. They're not actually possessed or anything. I guess a range isn't bad for these guys. It's not amazing either. So again, just Nurgle gets the best things. It's just Nurgle getting all the good stuff. Like, Maggot King of Nurgle, amazing range. Like, let's look at all the non-demon units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, not 9. 8. So 9, 10, 11.
Misery word of the day,
12,
dog.
13.
There are 2 named dogs in Blades of Corn. I'd if they are good boys, but they are bitey.
16. 17. So 17 non-demon units in the Maggotkin of Nurgle. I think some of them are named characters. But still, okay, actually no. These 4 are basically of, so it's basically 13. No, 14. 14, because these 3 are just literally the same model. Actually, let's just take -2, so that's 15. Yeah, your Games Workshop just loves Nurgle. What is it about, do you know, these? Do you think Games Workshop just doesn't shower or something? Do they just think we all really like stinky boys? Because if we really have just gone all in on Nurgle, hasn't Nurgle got new... Yeah, Nurgle's been getting new demons and stuff as well. Like, no one else has been getting new demons. Nurgle gets new demons. It's like, you want a new demonic character? Here you go, Nurgle. You can have them. We want some more new models. You can have them. We got a starter set and we want chaos in it. Oh, Nurgle obviously can be inside it. Nurgle is green, therefore money. So Lanesh is just getting the shortcut in every single thing. I mean, Siege isn't doing too bad in 40k, I guess. Like... Oh my goodness. Yeah, this sucks. I'm gonna boycott Nurgle until we start getting more in everything else. Oh goodness. Why? I'm less inclined to chaos in fantasy for Cetra does not serve. Cetra does not serve. Look at all these cool things. We can build Cetra still, can't we? We can still build Cetra. Casket of Souls. Where's the big old Tomb King on Chariot? No, that's not Cetra's chariot. Here we go. Yeah, here's Cetra. Cetra does not serve. Cetra's like the only returning character, my goodness. Even though there are characters that should canonically be still alive around here in the old world. You can still build Carl Franz if you want to, by the way. Because you just build him in the normal... I think... Can you build Folkmore using this kit? I think you might be able to. But don't quote me on that, because I don't remember if we can. Where is the Great Eagle? There it is. Here we go. Yeah, using fish, you can build car fans if you want to on Deathclaw. And also a wizard. It doesn't show the spoo. I intend to do Necron Tomb King army, but it sounds incredibly out of my ability. Don't worry, Necron and Tomb King armies, especially Necron. Necron's one of the easiest armies to get into. One is, do you want to see what a 1,000-point army looks like for Necrons? And I can show you a 1,000-point army for Necrons. And it's not even as small as it could possibly be. Well, Necrons are great because your standard Necron warrior is a push fit model, so it goes together really easily, but it has lots of like fit options on it, so you know it doesn't matter too much. Oh, kit bash together. It would be very hard to, because most of the Tomb King range is really, really old. With the old Necrons, yes, you could do that. But the Tomb King range is like super old, so all of their limbs are super, super thick. Now, that's not a bad thing, because it's like when I was building vampire accounts, I just used Tomb King skeletons. One, they were cheaper. Two, they did not break anywhere as much because they're... Also, I liked how they look. But they didn't break as much because all the model parts were just so much thicker. But the fact that they're so much thicker means that they're incredibly out of place with the Necron parts. Literally, you'll just be better off trying to paint Necron-y stuff to look more Tomb King, rather than taking like Tomb King skeleton. I mean, you could maybe take some of the Tomb King built items. Also, I liked how when it was here, you know, the lights in the middle of his chest, like, it's literally a shining beacon of the Emperor. Oh, it's a shining beacon. I know it's right in the middle. Oh, it's a shining beacon of the Emperor. I like the Martech Guard from the Gods. Like, actually, one of the easiest ones to do would probably be taking the Ossiarch Bone Reapers and mixing with the Necrons, because both of them are high detail modern miniatures. So, you know, they work much better together. The Tomb Kings, some of the models are newer, but a lot of the range is like ancient. So, it's not very good. It's very low detail. Ossiarch Bone Reapers is what I meant. Okay, yeah. Ossiarch Bone Reapers, they can be mixed together. Because they're quite high detail. They've kind of got this techno idea and runic marks on them anyway. So it's actually not too difficult. A lot of it can just be done by painting them, you know, specific colours to look more Necron-y or to make your Necron-y stuff look more bony. Sorry, drinking. Yeah, I know Nurgle has a narrative thing. But there's a reason that they chose them. It's not just that they had an entire narrative thing with a Sylvaneth. So they got a range refresh. They also had the new what is it called? The new hero quest thing. Warhammer quest. They had the new Warhammer quest thing as well. Which was focused around Nurgle. So they had like 2 range refreshes in very short order. Well, range bonuses. And the same happened with the Death Guard. They got basically a bunch of new stuff in a row. Compare this to the Tyranids in 40k, where when 10th edition is meant to be about Leviathan attacking. The end of 9th edition, start of 10th edition, it's all about Leviathan. And they did get a nice range refresh, some new models, and that was it. They didn't continue getting more stuff after that initial release range. And, you know... but... But for historically, Games Workshop has always put more work into Nurgle. It's why they have the most demons. It's why the newest demons are all Nurgle demons, except, you know, some of the characters. Like named characters. It's why both the Death Guard and Age of Sigmar, 40k and Age of Sigmar, both have these massive Nurgle armies. That just absolutely outcompete every other Chaos range. And it's why they keep centering various stories on them. Because you had... The Dark Angels were fighting Nurgle at one point, then the Ultramarines were fighting Nurgle. And despite how the Ultramarines were then fighting Necrons, they were still fighting Nurgle. Despite how they were fighting Tyranids, they're now still fighting Nurgle. Despite fighting Necrons again, they're still fighting Nurgle. And even with mention of them turning up at Armageddon, it didn't stop saying that they're still fighting Nurgle. Games Workshop really does like Nurgle more. I think it's probably just because it sells more anyway. It's a very easy playstyle to get into. Like Slanesh and Dark Eldar both don't do super well because the playstyles are meant to be like these very fast maneuver warfare armies. That doesn't very mold well with a lot of people, especially for who go into Chaos thinking Chaos tough, big, strong. And Darkwater. Yeah, Darkwater. The Death Rattle skeletons are amazing. The old skeletons as well, for old vampire count skeletons are really good, but they were so fragile. The joint that connected the arm to the main body was so thin that it just snapped constantly. And not only was the joint so thin, but the little elbow joint that the arm was meant to attach to was so thin with the way that it was part of the body that often it would just roll right off the body piece as well. They were just so fragile models. The spears kept snapping. They were incredibly spiky as well, so they'd catch on everything. And you like reach across the table, your sleeve catches them, half of them get stuck in your sleeve, and then you try moving them out, and half of the arms and spear pieces and stuff just remain inside your sleeve. So yeah, it was not good. I gotta go fast, that's all I want. Yeek. Sells more, makes more, buys more, repeat. Yeah, it's the thing with Death Guard and Nurgle in general is that they're a very tough army. And this is one of the reasons why Space Marines are so popular. And why they're a very tough army that just does everything. You want to shoot, Nurgle does it. You want to do magic, Nurgle does it. You want to do melee, Nurgle does it. You want an army that can sustain being hit by the enemy, Nurgle does it. You need some extra speed, well don't worry, Nurgle has cavalry. But not the fastest cavalry, but for fast enough to get you some manoeuvring done. Or, you know, in 40k, just put them in a rhino. Or you got teleporters with your terminators. So it's basically any sort of weakness Nurgle has. It's very easy and basic to shore up, making them very beginner friendly. And also very friendly to people who just like, are fed up of losing. They're not the best at the game. So they just like Nurgle becomes a fallback. It's the same with Space Marines. They might not be doing the best in terms of competition, but that's because every new person plays them. Almost. Is that me? Am I your favourite rat? Hello, Delan. Oh, did I say hello to Punish Scarab? Hello, Punish Scarab. But yeah, so it's... I don't know. You generally find these relatively tough armies become fallback for players, and as a result, they usually sell more, people play for more. The ones that require more skill to play, so generally the faster maneuver warfare armies, don't always sell super well. For instance, Dark Eldar versus Eldar. Eldar might not be super tough, but they're certainly a lot tougher than Dark Eldar, especially back when like the Dark Eldar range came out. Dark Eldar in competitive play, when they came out with what their current range is, or most of it, were basically top competitive, but in casual play they were losing just all of the time. And it's basically you had to lock in if you're playing them, because a space marine with a bolt gun could take out everything in your army. That's how bad they were. Eldar at least had some toughness with their Wraith Guard, their Wraith Lords, their 3+ armor saves on a lot of their characters, or 4+. I say characters, units, or 4+ in some cases. Lots of invulnerable saves, bonuses to cover, their tougher vehicles that they had. So this made Eldar generally the more popular army for when people wanted them to play like maneuver warfare armies. Eldar or Tau became the ones that people wanted to play because they had that durability to them. Which you might not necessarily think about that now. If you think about Tau, you don't think durable. With the battle suits kind of being weak now. But back when back then, battle suits were kind of better. Well, that being said, Tau definitely have a lot of durability to them. Everyone gets in 4+ armor saves, or, you know, stealth. So yeah. I'm opening a cooler. Someone got to going about factions again. Yeah. I get to know more of that and put me at top of a list. Talan is the big rat that makes all the rules. So he likes to think until the big rat comes along and makes all the rules. Tola! Yeah, it's oh no. I guess the thing about Death Guard as well is that they're never, and Nurgle armies in general, is that they've got plenty of cheap units. Like, while your units might be expensive, your basic units, you often have like armies of cultists to throw into the enemy. If you compare this to another army that's extremely tough, like the Grey Knights, you don't have that cheap option just to throw out the enemy. And just, you know, to make up numbers. And you're not so tough that, you know, you can just tank everything coming at you if you've only got 10 models on the field. Which is the issue with Grey Knights. Custodies have a similar issue.
So what are we doing today?
We're looking at the front of this book while I talk about factions. Look, Return of Yarrick. And those are big guns in the background, yeah. You know, I just want you to take in, look, a Hydra. Taking all this art, it is an amazing cover. I like how this shiny bit just moves around as a mover book. Oh my gosh, look at it on that. I'll just get it here. Oh yeah, it looks cool. On that servo skull. All covers should have Yarrick to some extent. It's true. It's true. Armageddon, the Return of Yarrick. So the Season of Fire has passed, so that's with the Chaos attacking again. The back cover is so bad it has no Yarrick. Are you sure it has no Yarrick? Oh no, it doesn't. It just has Gaskell Fatco and his big old ships here over here with his warpy teleporty. But yeah. Oh yeah, Custodies at least have the Sisters of Silence, who, you know, are relatively cheap units you can just throw around to do, you know, be distracting. And they still have 3+ armor saves, which is pretty great. Ones I like Chaos to not attack, you know. Well, Chaos isn't attacking, it's Orcs attacking now. And here we go, here's the books. I've not got the special edition, partly because the special edition absolutely sucks in comparison to this and is way more expensive. Like, look at this, like, okay, yeah, sure, the special edition has gold leaf. But come on, actually, do they have a special? Oh, if they don't have it, I think they've sold out finally. Oh no, here we go. Yeah, they sold out finally. Yeah, this is a look how much this sucks by comparison. Okay, at least it's hardback. I'll give them that. It's actual got gold leaf on it and stuff, which is, you know, nice. Well, come on. Yeah, the pages literally have gold on the edges of them. That's 2 Yarricks on it. I'm not sure what you're on about. Wait, let's look. No, what do you mean? That's Commissar Graves. This is Yarrick. This is Gaskell. That's Commissar Graves. You don't know. Look how expensive. £77.50 for that. That's expensive. I got the Maelstrom one for like 50 quid. This one's 46 quid, but you can get it at 20% off pretty easily if you just shop online for it. And the first one was Angron was looking for a shiny chopper. Yeah, so it goes demons, orcs, orcs, demons, orcs. I believe. Oh. Blah. Look at this inside there. But detachments. Now we've already looked at all these detachments and stuff because you know they release them online. Armored infantry. Oh, this smells nice. Armored gauntlet. So here's some cool stuff. The armored gauntlet is so for new missions and a new way to play the game.
They
Ooh,
really
look,
did be
Steel
trying to
Legion.
make Graves the new Yarrick, and the community rejected it so hard they brought him back to execute him in rules.
To execute him in rules. Oh, to execute Yarrick in rules. Graves is actually really good. Graves is going to be amazing in 11th. She also got nerfed a bit, but she's going to be amazing in 11th. Because she did have every single phase. She could, you know, stop Battle Shock, which is like absolutely insane. It's like, my unit's Battle Shock. Nah, no. Now it's just once per turn. But it's like, at any part during the turn, can she just be like, hey, this unit's not Battle Shocked anymore? Which I think for, is it for no, it's once per, yeah, once per turn, not once per battle round. Look at, oh, Stormlord. Oh, look at the giant squig. That squig's a lot bigger than expected. But yeah, so we got the Armored Gauntlet rules here. Armored Gauntlets is a thrilling new way to experience a Warhammer 40k. Also, can you hear the squeakiness? As my gloves just go against the back of this book. Armageddon is a boot bad boot name I'd fight over. Yeah. It's like 17 wars, so it's hard to keep track. Did we really try to... I don't know much about Graves, but Graves is cool. Like, the first time I really knew about Graves was literally with the announcements and stuff. I was like, this Graves person is amazing. I want more Graves. Screw yeah. No, not something. But I was like, Yarrick's cool, but this Graves person's also cool. Yeah. No orcs would want to fight a war on Equestria. Now, orcs would want to fight a war on Equestria. What are you on about? Only the evil Black Templars would attack Equestria. No. Okay, they would actually as well. They'd be like, magic. Magic! Psychic mutant horses, destroy them. Or, you know, give them to the Inquisition. Yeah, so thrilling new way to play. The rules in this book are designed for monsters and vehicles. Also, look at that vehicle there. That doesn't exist in-game. That's a Chimera Sashi with a giant gun on the front of it. Armored Gauntlet. Nothing could have prepared for me for the mass tank war. thunder of engines and guns. Now, this is actually very good. But, ooh, that's some really old-fashioned art. Yeah, but is that multi-mount? That is a multi-mount on the front. That's not a heavy flamer. Wait a minute. No, it is a heavy flame. No, it might be a multi-mounter. Hard to tell. It doesn't look like either of them, to be honest. Oh, wait, I just realised there's massed infantry behind the Hellhound. Right Scars would love Uma Musume. Her personal centaur is literally styled after the
Her personal centaur is literally styled after the Fortress of Arrogance. It's blatant copying. It would be flattery if it wasn't malicious.
The Fortress of Arrogance never had an official model, by the way. The Fortress of Arrogance is literally just a Baneblade with some plasticord slapped on the side and a little bit of building crenellations put on the side. This is a completely, you know... You say it's kind of styled on the Fortress of Arrogance. I think it's more styled on real-life command vehicles that did exist. Both of them are based, styled upon the same sort of thing, which is the sort of command vehicles that you saw very special ones. Actually, this one seems more inspired by the likes of the... Oh, what's it called? Do you know those big American... For specially armoured limos and stuff and vehicles that the president drives in? Well, I say drives in, you know, rides around in America. Kind of reminds me of those types of things. And you know, for MRAPs and stuff. But yeah, never had an actual proper model. Similarly, Wazdakka never had a proper model before now, though. He always just had a conversion. So if you wanted, like, I think I actually built my own version of Wazdakka. Well, not as to be Wazdakka, but, you know, to use his rules. I can't remember what it looked like properly. It wasn't actually too far off this idea. I did put a massive jet on the back of it from something. I think it was like a spare Valkyrie thing. And... yeah. Oh, no, yeah, I made it a graph vehicle. Yeah, and it had one big wheel on the front. And it wasn't. It used some spare old Reaver. Because someone was getting rid of their old Eldar jet bikes. They're just like, I don't want them anymore. I'm like, oh, Dark Eldar jet bikes. Because they were instead replacing the army with the newer models. And I was like, yes, I'll take some of them if you're just giving them away. And I turned it into Wazdakka. I think he had 2 of them on him. And then a big wheel on the front. And then I think I just used a normal orc boy in the back because, you know. Or did I use a knob? Can't remember. But yeah. Oh no. I guess it is mildly inspired by the Fortress of Arrogance, but I definitely think she has a lot of her own stuff going on. I think it's also a bit crazy to say that, you know, they wanted to replace Yarrick with Commissar Graves and then brought Yarrick about. You know how long it takes to produce a miniature? Yarrick's miniature must have gone into production around the same time as this miniature. Like it takes some years to get around to make, like, Yarrick's miniature is very, very good. But one thing I will say is it does look like they did paint it up relatively quickly. So maybe it went into production. I imagine that they potentially wanted to release... No, because the Steel Legion is... No, there are also issues with her as well with some of the painting. I imagine she was probably produced first, and then Yarrick was rushed forward a bit. But the thing is that it takes them years to get around to like making a miniature, and especially one as good as Yarrick's miniature wasn't going to have to be built in a rush. It looks like it was painted a bit in a rush with some of the mistakes that they made of a model that normally don't go into the final picture and promotional material, but he's not the only model in the Armageddon box. So I imagine potentially he did get pushed forward, like they wanted to release him with the start of the Armageddon, but then decided actually they'll push him forward and release the Return of Yarrick before the Armageddon 11th edition, and instead focus 11th edition, the end of 10th edition on Yarrick. But I mean, when it comes to models, it definitely. I visited GW and I walked the door of the back and saw a room with a million pandas chewing on plastic blocks until one of them looks like Yarrick, so I understand why it takes so long, it's true. Sorry, Commissar, they keep dying when we hit them with a car. Drive me closer so I can hit them with my sword. It's true. She's doing that. I gotta get my hands of armored car for God's sake now. I'm trying to figure out if I can try. I really like this armored car, so I'm trying to figure out how I could potentially fit her in. I'm already having Commissar Graves on foot using her because I built a Commissar already from a Necromunda model with a power fist and a power sword. So yeah, and I'm like, oh, that's basically just a cooler looking version of Commissar Graves. But yeah, I mean, it is possible that they started Commissar Graves model and stuff much earlier, and then later with people wanting Yarrick back, were like, oh, I don't know if she has her own story or anything. Like, I know people know about Commissar Graves, but I don't know much about her. I don't know if she's been in any stories before. I imagine she must have been mentioned somewhere, because I do remember when things are being announced, like, you know, being teased, people are like, oh, Commissar Graves is coming. I won't start a guard, but I would like a small group of guard models or display. What I'm really hoping is that the Centaur RSV and the Taurox both become Imperial Agent models as well. Because they should be Imperial Agent models, to be quite frank. Like, Arbites in lore have been mentioned to drive around in Tauroxes multiple times. And the Centaur RSV just seems like the perfect thing for them. Actually, give us a variation of this with just wheels. As well. But yeah. Is this guy getting turned into a servitor? So, okay, yeah, Armored Gauntlet. A model has a spearhead keyword. So if you want to play Armored Gauntlet, models with a spearhead keyword are monsters or vehicles with 10 or more wounds who are not aircraft or fortifications. The two primary ways are model to lose wounds. That triggers when a player rolls with a damage table for a spearhead model are given below and opposite. Each time a model is reduced to 0 wounds, so you're not destroyed and may instead suffer battle damage. Okay, so normal damage. So you can either damage them normally until they go down to 0 or fewer wounds. Do not remove that model. Instead, all excess damage is allocated to the model is lost, and all remaining attacks from the attacking unit that target the spearhead unit are not made and have no effect. After the attacking unit has resolved all its attacks, your opponent rolls a d6, adding 1 for the result for each damage token that model has. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, in Armored Gauntlet and Gauntlet Challenge missions, before the battle begins, units containing more than one spearhead model are split into separate units, each containing one spearhead model. which then operate as single units. Okay, so things like the hippogriffs instead of being as a unit of 2 will be 2 units of 1. Okay. Well, that means you can still take 6 in your army. I think guard version of a Venator would be pretty amazing. The Necromunda one is so good. Yeah, I have seen people wanting to use the Venator now as... there are actually rules of a Venator in Legends, but people are now using the Hippogriff rules for the Venator, which is pretty cool. Each time a rule inflicts more... Or you can do mortal wounds. So... Each time a rule inflicting mortal wounds on a spearhead model reduce it to 0 wounds. Do not remove it from the battlefield. Instead, any mortal wounds that have not been resolved or lost in your opponent rolls 1d6, adding 1 for each damage token that model has. Damage tokens, here we go. Some rules result in gaining or removing damage tokens. Only spearhead units can accrue these tokens, but there's no limit on how many can be applied. The more damage tokens a unit has gained, the more likely it is to suffer catastrophic damage and is destroyed. If a unit of damage tokens is removed from the battlefield, make note of how many damage tokens it had when it was removed. If that unit is set up on the battlefield again, it regains a corresponding numbers of damage tokens. Damage tokens are only removed if a rule explicitly states so or when the model is destroyed. Oh, so when it says removed, it means if it goes into strategic reserves, effectively. Or like, you know, teleports. I personally use the Venator as an Invader ATV. That sounds cool as well. That's actually a good way to, like, have Guardsmen and Space Marines of the same army, I guess. I've also seen people use, you know, scout models. But instead of using scouts, they just put Kasvikin down. Or do you know, for Necromunda Enforcers? So, you know, models of a relatively similar size and bulk that, you know, you could realistically think would have similar rules. Maybe remove this when someone steals it off a table and eats. I don't think they're going to be putting it back on the table if that happens. Oh my gosh, could you imagine playing with chocolate models and when one's destroyed, you eat it? That would be terrible. You just get all bits stuck up in the chocolate. When a model of deadly demise is destroyed, when rolling to see if it suffers deadly demise and inflicts mortal wounds on nearby units, add 1 to the result for each damage token it had. Oh, that's good. I like that. Basically makes it more likely to deadly demise. Results on a damage table can include 1 or more of the following. Damage tokens, instant effects, damage status, damage tables. The damage table rolls on depending on the spearhead model. In this book you'll find dozens of different tables. Yeah. If a spearhead is a transport, roll on for basic transport damage. If it's a monster, roll basic monster damage. If it's a spearhead model, roll basic vehicle damage. If no other appropriate table fits it. So here's the tables, which are very similar to old ones, except instead of destroying a vehicle or completely removing it, you just do these things. So, through Shaken, it must take a battle shock test, worsen their leadership by 1 if it's stunned, subtract 3 inches from its movement, transport compartment breach, because this is for a transport model. A unit embarked suffers D3 mortal wounds. That's cool, again. If this unit has firing deck, it loses that ability for the remainder of the battle. Crew compartment destroyed. All the units embarked within must make an emergency disembarkation. Models cannot embark within this model, or it's destroyed. Then you got things like be stunned, deep wound, subtract 2 from its strength of its melee weapons, remove 1 from its advance and charge rolls, remove 1 from its toughness if it's a monster, and same over here. Allies of convenience again have so if you have something like Gene Stealer cults using guardsman models, you use the guardsman Astra Militarum damage tables of the guards and models, and you use the Gene Stealer tables of the Gene Stealer models, and you can't mix and match them. So these are just examples of how units might damage one another and using damage tokens. How big armies it suggests. You can use infantry in these things, but your infantry will be significantly weaker than the spearhead models. I was thinking of clay models, but chocolate makes more sense. Have you seen that game where they use clay models? Where you basically have some Play-Doh and you put it into a mold and to make a little monster, and you can put it onto a field and you just remove the excess. And basically each player has a lump of Play-Doh effectively that they have, and that represents like the amount of points that they have to spend. And once you run out of Play-Doh, you basically lose. But you can spend it on like spells, on monsters and stuff by putting it in different modes. It's pretty cool. Yeah, purple clay, something spellbook one. Necro something over. But here you go. Instead of using your standard detachments and stuff, instead you've got these spearhead abilities. Spearhead upgrades, which you can give to your spearhead models. Yeah! Like, each time this unit passes a battle shock test, remove 1 damage token. This model gains an officer keyword and can use 2 orders. Zosimus is here!
Cupcake! Yay!
Is there an equivalent of Wazdakka in 40k?
Hi, Zosimus. Thanks for being a member for 16 months. I hope you've been using your cupcake magic responsibly. And also, hello, Seredwin. Warzakka, he's a psychic guy, isn't he? He'd be equivalent of a snake bite. Oh my gosh, thanks for being a member for 14 months, Seredwin.
Cupcake! Yay!
Exclamation mark Yeet.
Cupcake made.
I hope you've been using your cupcake magic responsibly, and yeeting at me is not responsible. So Warzakka, I don't think so. I don't think there's a named character equivalent. I think there was a weird boy character of snake bites at one point, which is equivalent of a Savage Arts. But he's not been mentioned for ages. Oh, the following units also gain the Spearhead rule. Hippogriff, Scout Sentinel, and Armored Sentinel. Okay, that's cool. These tokens... These things are very similar to other ones, for other damage tables. But they do have a super heavy damage table as well. So it's... Actually trying to find, like, what's the +2 SRP? Oh, I know. Yeah, I missed it before, didn't I? Where it was, what's it here? Yeah, here we go. So, depending on how many points it is, you get so many spear point upgrades. Instead of having... Yeah, okay, so when you get spear point, you can spend these spear points upgrades in addition to your enhancements and stuff, sorry. That's cool. But then you got Adeptus Astartes over here with their heavy vehicle damage, their dreadnought damage tables. Cannot make advanced moves with a leg damage. Then Blood Angels have their own upgrades, and so do Dark Angels and Black Templars. Crusader Honest. They gain Feel No Pain against psychic attacks, and 6+ Invulnerable save. Grey Knights have their own unique stuff as well. Combat Walker. Oh yeah, because they got their own special stuff, don't they? Then they got the Adeptus Sororitas with Blessed Engines. Custodes obviously have their own page. Basically everyone gets their own page. Adeptus Mechanicus, Martian Battle Tank, Skitarian, Landstrider, Chaos Knights, Heretic Astartes, Eldari, Orcs, Necrons, even Gene Stealer cults and stuff. It's all pretty cool. And Tyranids. And the rest of this, is it just pictures? Yeah, it's just pictures. And then here we go, missions. So, again, the missions can vary how many points you get to spend. They suggest how much. You go here. Muster your armies as normal, effectively. Your army can contain up to 2 units with each datasheet name, or up to 3 units of each datasheet name if it's a battle line, spearhead, or dedicated. Okay, that's cool. So incursion would be telling you to split your units if you've got multiple, you know, vehicles in a single unit. How to determine your missions. Yeah, it doesn't give you the ability to take 6 spearhead units if you wanted to in a single army. Read mission objectives. So again, a lot of this stuff, it's just kind of your normal abilities. Although actions are changed a little bit. If a unit starts to perform an action, Titanic characters can still shoot. Advance does not prevent a battle line or spearhead unit from being eligible to start an action. Starting an action does not prevent a battle line or spearhead unit from being eligible to shoot. So yeah, it's basically just changing it a little bit, allowing your vehicles and battle line units to still advance and shoot even if you wanted to do an action. Again, basically everything that would make a vehicle be kind of bad to take normally instead of infantry. You know, it's basically just giving you more reason to take vehicles. You must spend more points on vehicles. Your vehicles are tougher. They can hold objectives and shoot. They can advance and do actions. You fell asleep at your desk. What happened? We've just been looking at rules of stuff, and you got lots of different things here. Any battle round when each time a player demolishes an objective marker. Okay, apparently you've got to demolish objective markers here. So everything is about focused a lot more on destruction and firepower than normal. Or if only Valkyries were any good. They're not even good in this game because they're aircraft. I love Valkyries so much. There's a lot of missions in here. Armored Breakthrough. That looks like a cool mission. Oh my gosh. That is a hell of a mission. I swear I've seen this thing in, what's it called? Total War. But for green, it's one person set up. For red, it's the other, and that's no... Wait! Wait. Okay, never mind. Sorry. I was like, 24 inches. Is this paint meant to be 24 inches? That's a massive... But no, it's from here to here is 24 inches. That makes more sense. From here to here is 22 inches. From here to here is 18. So there's only 6 inches between you and the enemy. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool objectives here. They don't seem particularly super well balanced, but They are fun-looking missions, which I really like about Look at All the Artillery. Harvest Light to my beloved. Oh, I literally just did a game with like deployments on Saturday. Nice. Yeah, I do like how all of these things are much more focused on, you know, just having fun. It's not about being competitive. It's not about winning. It's about just having fun. That's what I just love about all of these books so far and the extra things they do. But you can have spearhead campaigns as well. And it's got the rules here for them. Oh my gosh, this is you know, I can kind of see why they want to just go with cards for campaigns. Oh my gosh, look at that. Valkyrie, my beloved. I'm not a big fan of Arthur's Lighter, but I do feel like the Arthur's Lighter should be given to Imperial agents. Okay, we can finally look at the Yarrick's new stuff. The Return of Yarrick. Armageddon. Armageddon is a world accursed. What was it called? Ufanar or something like that. Back when the Orcs had full control of it before the Emperor arrived. Once the planet burned bright in the firmament of the Imperium. Now it is buried beneath the ash of eons. Where's my knife? I need my knife. I don't feel happy without it. There we go. Beneath the ash of eons. The Orcs have savaged this world, maiming it, marking it as his own. Shaped by the claw of the Xenos invader, choked and torn by the industry of war. It has become a monstrous, wounded beast that hungers for one thing and one thing alone. War. Tears from the crowd. As America's biggest legions, fan Arthur's Lighters are great. How do I cope with a commander battlesuit as only one of each weapon? Depends what you want to give it. Mine, I didn't care too much about having one of each weapon because it's like that really cool Gatling gun you've got. It's really nice. So I just took it. Then obviously wanted to have the, you know, the shield, so it would have a 4+ invulnerable save. I wanted to give it a special fusion blaster because I went for experimental weapons mid-attachment. And then I gave it the super cool iron weapon. And both of them you can only take one of anyway. So the cool, you know, Gatling gun. Yeah, so I only went with the shield, the cool Gatling gun, the cool iron weapon, all of which you can only take one off in the rules. And then the fusion gun, which I gave experimental weapon to. So that's how I coped. Alternatively, what you do is you buy some crisis battle suits and take the weapons that you don't want from the crisis battle suits and give it to your commander. So what you really want to do is you go, okay, I want some crisis battle suits that I do not anti-infantry. So, and I want some crisis battle suits that I do no fusion weapons. So you take your spare fusion weapons from your other crisis battle suits and give them to your crisis battle weapons suits with fusion weapons. Take your spare burst weapons and one of them are flamers and give it to the other, and then take all the spare weapons on the two of them and give it to your commander. So you should get 2 spare fusion rifles from that, because I think you get 4 fusion rifles in the crisis battle suits. So between the 2 you'd get 8, but you only need 6 of them, so you can give the 2 extra ones to your commander. Alternatively, just go to eBay or something. Or Etsy. Well, you do get the issue. It's same goes with the crisis battle suits. They only have one of... for most part, they only have one of each weapon for each character model. So, with a couple of them having just one extra on top of that. It's not necessarily, it's the fact that the Crisis Battle suits of the commanders were built for a different rule set. Were made for a different rule set. But they decided they wanted to keep, you know, the flexibility of how you wanted to arm them. In reality, what you do now, it's like my Crisis Battle suits I only bought for one pack. So they've all got fusion rifles, but only 4 of them are actually modelled on the model. I'd just be like, you know, they still have 6 fusion rifles. It's just all those extra gubbins and stuff on them. Fair, you know, just treat that as an extra fusion rifle. It's not like there's any other unit they could possibly be. Where for a commander, you can just say to your opponent, hey, I just wanted to have like 4 fusion rifles, but you know, they only have so many in the pack. But that's what I'm going to use it as. And they'll be like, okay, good to know. So, blood stains the jutting ribs of a beast's emaciated corpse. Its roar of outrage strips the senses and shivers the mind. Its omnipresent stench chokes and kills as surely as the mindless wrath of the orcs that infest it. Wounded and inflamed, though the world may be, the pounding of its heartbeat thuds and thunders as vital as ever. It beats like a great drum of war. In the boom of artillery and the rumble of armoured columns, it shakes the ground with seismic fury, shattering the dreams of the teeming hivers upon its back, summoning ever more warriors from the void. With enough blood and sacrifice, the slaughter ebbs, and the beast seemingly appeased. Those hollow-eyed citizens and soldiers caught with teeth dare to hope, looking to the horizon for a sliver of light, but the hope is false. Each reprieve is only long enough for the most desperate of musters, and the cycle of butchery to begin anew. Each zephyr of clean air is a prelude to a furnace hot, carrion stench of a war beast's breath. For a beast's true master is a warlord Gaskell, and he knows where what carnage it can breed. For a monstrosity that is Armageddon, there can be no escape. Yarrick returned! Established from primary meat that people eat before decay is grox, because grox eat garbage. Like beef for us. Kind of. Look, there's Yarrick. Punching Gaskell in his gut. But I think grox is for... Every time you see leather, it's mostly grox leather. Every time you see meat, it's mostly grox meat. I mean, that's not the only one, but it's basically just grox is an extremely hardy and tough animal that can live pretty much anywhere and be like industrially farmed. It's also a vicious and, you know, brutal animal, but it's quite an industrially farmed animal that can basically just survive and live anywhere. I think it's kind of eats garbage, and I think that's kind of a joke on the fact that it looks a bit goat-like, and, you know, goats are famed for eating all sorts of things. So, I think there's other animals too. I think there's been mention of doing like some of the Crutox animals and stuff being used as well. And like some just common poultry and stuff also being a favourite, because like you have pigeons living everywhere and chicken-like animals just like existing in the ruins. The fall of a legend. Amidst the death throes of a world, the old man met the beast of Armageddon in battle. The beast had raised a mountain of insane machinery, No apocalyptic engine, of insane machinery, an apocalyptic engine, vomiting green lightning that split the heavens of Icaria like the smile of a leaving god. Yet the engine ran amok. Warring armies scattered at the planet's crust as the planet's crust was Warring armies scattered as the planet's crust was split, shattered by coruscating energy, the culminations of a dying world. Left the beast stranded on a rocky mesa, the tatters of his once mighty horde about him. The old man looked upon his nemesis and struck. A mere handful of battleships remained beneath his banner, each bearing veterans of long pursuit to one final assault. A single Fenrisian vessel prowled alongside them, sleek and cruel. Hi, Viable Senpai, and yes, for your own description that there can be of Yarrick, he is him. Hi, Nanofate. Their course took them into the heart of the immense Ark fleet. It was a composite thing of iron, hatred and war power. The power to burn worlds, yet not one shipmaster hesitated, nor did one soldier waver. Bound by the old man's unyielding will, they plunged like a spear down the monster's throat. Through writhing skies and arcs of green lightning plunged the craft of the old man's execution strike down to the rocky island where the beast raged. How many brave soldiers martyred themselves to clear a path through the arcs, chanting to meet them? How many engines were blasted apart to bring the old warrior and his chosen few close? With conjurations of storm frost, they bound the beast with flame, bolt, and beam. They scoured his hulking form. In that fated hour, ferocity enough to slay an army was unleashed upon the beast. Then, cleaving smoke and the war of a wounded tyrant, Fenrisian ice cracked, gunshot loud, the beast of Armageddon charged. That makes him sound incredibly tough, but when you see his profile and his toughness 6 with 10 wounds, Gollum and his toughness 9. Is it Lionel Johnson toughness 10? Lionel Johnson has a 3+ invulnerable save. Gascon has a 4+. I mean, his little Grot has a 2+ invulnerable save. But if you can hit him with a precision weapon. Also, when do you all reckon Warhammer scores this? I expect end of month. I have no idea. The old warrior's bale eye blazed. He moved swiftly, his stolen claw arm swinging with all conviction that had driven him for so many years. He struck true, his talons lodged deep in the beast's chest. Then, inevitable as the death of Icaria itself, the beast's immense pin sufficed about the old man with a crack of bone. The old foes locked eyes before the beast slammed his adamantium skull forward, a battering ram against a splintering door. A blow painted the Ark's features crimson black. The beast hurled his nemesis into the dust with an ear-splitting roar. He raised an iron-shod foot, about to bring its weight crashing down on the old man, and stopped, laughing cruelly instead. The shadow of an Ark gun vessel spread like a funeral shroud over a battlefield. Still bellowing in triumph, the beast departed. The survivors of the old man's force field fled in disarray, Amidst the mayhem, they did not see the old warrior's ruined body borne away by the black armored beast. Had they realized a spark of life still remained, the old man's followers might still have held out hope. But the war of the brute still rang loud in their ears. They could only flee, broken as the body of their master, to spread word of his death. Dun dun dun. So that was Yarrick's final moments. Ducking under the beast's claw and stabbing him. But then, you know, being kind of stuck there, grabbed and headbutted. I imagine Warhammer schools, isn't that the thing where they're doing the Q&A and stuff as well? Or is that just separate? Okay, let's turn the light on here so we can get a good look at him. Look at Yarrick. Look at him stood over stuff. He's so cool. We love him. Commissar Sebastian Yarrick started out stared out of Ice Troll's viewport at the approaching orb of Armageddon. Ice Troll is a ship of the Fenrisians, of the Space Wolves. Yeah! Its oceans were split by ochre continents, blanketed with smoke and flame. Armageddon, Yarrick thought, gritting his teeth as fragmented memories of his past conflicts flashed through his mind's eye. I shall never leave this place behind me. Yarrick could almost feel the heat searing his skin, hear the roaring of the orcs, the screams of the dying. The void around Armageddon seethed with orc battleships. Their lumpen, ugly forms drifted over planet-scorched continents, like bloated flies sucking at a festering carcass. Hide-draped servitors clicked and whirred at their stations, cogitating firing solutions and shunting power to the void shields at the barked command of a ship's Fenrisian captain. An Ark cruiser loomed ahead, seeking to block Ice Troll's route into low orbit. Flashes of light erupted from its flanks, barges of cannon fire streaking past the Space Wolves vessel. Forward batteries, engage at will. Let them feel the All-Father's wrath, rumbled a grizzled Space Wolf bridge officer. Fightercraft advanced beyond the armor-glass viewports, engaging bursts of fire. Yarrick braced as the deck shook beneath him. Ice Troll rocked at the impact of orc fire against its void shields. The sounds of battle triggered something within him. The pain of hurts, mercifully half forgotten. The need for vengeance. Exoskeleton servo motors hissed as he adjusted his balance. Aged joints and old wounds ached. Gifts from more than a century of service. Nor had his mind escaped unscathed. There was much he could no longer recall, particularly of recent events. His confrontation with the beast of Armageddon, his reconstructed skull, had ached as if it was aflame. For long months he had seen a stranger in his reflections. All was not right. His skin had taken on a waxy pallor that even age could not explain. The Fenrisian warriors he had fought beside had brought him back from the abyss. That much he knew. When asked why, their skull-hound priest had told him that he was more important to the fate of Armageddon than he realized. Yarrick knew the value of symbols well, and had not pressed the matter. Yet they had hardly spoken to him since, as he could sense the same dreadful wrongness he felt, or as if they could. I almost died, they tell me, at the hand of a beast. If they speak the truth, then perhaps it is the Emperor's will that I be denied such a mercy. How else but by his hand could it be that I am drawn to this forgotten place once more, to face Gaskell yet again? He let me live just to fight me again. Ice Troll's forward lance batteries blazed, the armor-glass viewport darkening to shield the bridge crews from their violent fury. The blinding beams bored into the flank of the orc vessel, gouging holes in its rusty metal hull. It listed toward the planet, caught in Armageddon's gravitational embrace. As its engines flickered and died, gun salvos followed, sealing the cruiser's fate. It broke apart, crumbling and expelling gases, detritus and orcoid crew into the freezing vacuum. Armageddon loomed closer. The bridge officer turned to regard Yarrick through narrowed eyes. Entering low orbit, the space marine snarled. Yeet drop-craft commissar. Yarrick. I have no idea how I'm meant to pronounce that name. It is waiting for you. Or is waiting for you below. We cannot linger here for long. He smells the curse of Armageddon upon me, Yarrick thought grimly. They know I cannot escape. Perhaps they are right to be wary. Perhaps I am an ill omen. Turning on his heel, the commissar strode from the bridge and descended into the belly of the frigate, purging troubling thoughts from his mind. Now was not the time to dwell on such matters. The fate of Armageddon was at stake. Now was the time for war. Dun dun dun! Look, Commissar Graves! Wazdakka! So, what I feel like this book is more about, to be honest, than just Yarrick himself. Or at least half about. It's about Commissar Graves and Wazdakka. So this is Wazdakka's war for Armageddon initially, then it gets taken over by Gaskell. And it's Graves who was fighting against him before Yarrick came about. So I don't feel like Graves is a replacement for Yarrick no more than Wazdakka is meant to be a replacement for Gaskell. Rather, they were the ones fighting in their stead until both returned back to Armageddon. And it makes sense. It wouldn't make sense to have Wazdakka fighting on Armageddon and not give us a character that was, fighting against him. And it would be bad to make that character anyone but a guardsman. Hello, Night Parade. And there's Yarrick. Over here. Across we've only just started reading the lore. We've been talking about rules and models and all sorts. Across Armageddon, for planets. I dropped my knife. Across Armageddon, for planets battle-scarred hives with sound the clarion call of renewed war. Orcs in greater numbers than ever before pour across the world's toxic waste at unstoppable speeds. Their vanguard smashes through Imperial defences and brings a fight to the heart of Armageddon's remaining bastions. But human tenacity has not yet broken. However, legendary
Gaskell
figures
heard
leading
stuff was
defence-
going down on Armageddon. Without him, this could not stand. Wazdakka better pray Gaz has better things to do.
No, Wazdakka wants to give Armageddon to Gaskell in exchange for something. The heart of Armageddon's remaining bastions. Their vanguard smashes through the Imperial defense and brings the fight to the heart of Armageddon's remaining bastions. But human tenacity has not yet broken. However, legendary figures leading the defense, there is hope that the Hive World may still stand. Yeah. Oh look! It's the Steel Legion. It's this Steel Legion, guys. Oh, look how cool the Steel Legion is. Reminds me of those other guys. They got gas masks. They are really cool. They fought in loads of battlefields. Really loyal to the Emperor and stuff. Cadian Shock Troops, yeah, that one. Yeah, it reminds me of them. I'm joking, I know those are Kriegsmen. Armageddon mustard. Armageddon's skies hung with thick clouds of smoke and pollutants. The last embers of a season of fire fluttered on searing winds as a pall of season's shadow descended to smother them. Already the continents of a war-scarred world echoed with battle, humans and orcs stirring from their enforced hibernations to resume their bitter conflict. In the long months of a season of fire, Armageddon's defenders had been replenished by reinforcements from distant war zones, clad in uniforms bearing the heraldry of a dozen different regiments. Regimentos, these new arrivals were dispersed across the planet. Several orders of armored lady preceptors led by Canoness Preceptor Mercia and the redoubtable throne-born Dogmata Superior in Transia Frey landed on High Volcano spaceport. They were joined by Inquisitor Huguenot Croyle, Inigo Croyle of the, well, just let's call him Croyle, of the Audio Xenos, whose peculiar menacing Xeno steed drew many a wary stare. I heard you's been having a scrap for Armageddon without me. Did it give you a sogging permission? I think it did, actually. The recently appointed planetary governor, Agmund von Ruger, convened the Council of Armageddon, with Croyle, Mercenary, and Dogmatus, I don't think he's lost in long, Dogmatus Superior at his side. Von Ruger declared that the time had come to begin a new offensive, since the Season of Blood, the coordinate invasion of Armageddon, and a subsequent Season of Fire. I have ordered the Armageddon Crusade book, along with some green stuff, so I can make some Mechanicus models. So we can look at what the Season of Blood was like. If you want to get that book and you see it in any shops or whatever, it's no longer being sold. So, yeah. It's your last chance to get it effectively. Coherence had eroded. But it's no longer being made by Games Workshop. Strike hard and decisively, and the Xenos
Inquisitor Croyle? Don't you mean Sir Hammerlock? Hunter, scholar, gentleman.
True. People really like him. I do think he kind of sucks for 100 points personally, but it's fine. I was not a big fan of his model. Although people have been like, we could turn this into Lord Solar. Lord Solar proxy. Since the Season of Blood, the Carnate of blah 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 blah. And a subsequent Season of Fire, the Orc's coherence had eroded. Strike hard and decisively, and the Xenos' take could finally be scoured for the Hive Road. Many members of the Council, particularly those with a military experience, were unconvinced. They feared any offensive could be premature, and that even reinforced Armageddon's armies might not guarantee victory. No voice of dissent was louder than that of General Tyblot Lott, Supreme Commander of Armageddon's military forces. It was then that the doors to the council chamber slung open, and the stern figure of Commissar Graves entered, flanked by the official prefector's enforcers. Having arrived in Armageddon toward the end of the Season of Blood, Graves had established a fearsome... So I imagine she's going to be in the Armageddon book then, campaign book. Why can Cuptle not say Lot? Do I need to go Scottish and say Hammerlock? Maybe.
Lock.
No, he says lock correctly.
Lock.
Yeah, he says them both as lock.
Hammerlock.
Oh, well, no, that one changes. Yeah, once you add that little apostrophe, it changes the pronunciation.
Hammerlock.
Okay, no, yeah. If you just change it to the Scottish lock, you know, a lake, it works. It works. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so imagine Graves might be in for other Armageddon book. Because you know Yarrick's not there. Ugh. Yeah, Graves had established a fearsome reputation amongst Armageddon's senior officers. Some whispered that her bolt pistol had accounted for more of the world's military leaders than any heretic. Upon the Commissar's dramatic entry, all, even von Ruger, paused as she erupted into a furious invective. Graves warned that the Xenos had been tolerated for too long. Talk of caution or compromise was akin to cowardice, and would be treated as such. With these words, the discussion came to a swift and decisive end. Even General Locke knew the folly of standing firm against senior representatives of the Inquisition and the officio perfectus. General Locke is not Coil. General Locke's the one who didn't want to go on an offensive. Don't get him confused with Hammerlock up here. Knew the folly of standing firm against senior representatives of the Inquisition and the officio perfectus. A new offensive would have to be planned post-haste. Planning the offensive, and it probably would have gone well if it wasn't for Wazdakka and his meddling bike. Planning the offensive. Responsibility for overarching strategy fell to General Locke. Locke, the most senior officer of the Steel Legion, had once served under General Nikita Korath, a veteran of the Ark Wars. Thrust into overall command of the Astra-Militarum forces on Armageddon, and with Graves' burning gaze upon him, Locke set about marshalling the resources at his command. Though the Ark numbers appear to have been thinned in the recent seasons, two primary strongholds remained: Hive Tempestora, ruled by Warboss, or Grok Gilitztooth, I think he's still around, and the expanses of the equatorial jungle, not around for long, as we've already read about that on the community site, which concealed many Ark tribes. Of the two, the equatorial jungle presented a more promising target, for it was truly colossal region and doubtlessly heavily infested. The Ark tribes that dwelt in its depths were factious and isolated. With adequate planning and resolve, they could be divided and purged piecemeal. The Purgation Corps. General Locke would divide his forces into army-sized elements known as Purgation Corps. These mechanized forces would contain light armor and transports capable of traversing the jungle, and equipped for incendiary and chemical warfare. Rather than pursue the Arks into tangled forests, they would scour the jungle quadrant by quadrant, burning the foliage until all that remained was blackened wasteland. While opted to journey, that's not going to do well for the planet's breathable atmosphere. Gilitztooth must be a bad moon's gets, probably. Which gets get all the shiny gubbins. Or Death Schools, because you know the Steelers get all the shiny gubbins too. Or they just steal the shiny gubbins. Boyle opted to journey south and oversee the Purgation Corps campaign, relishing the opportunity to hunt alien prey. The offensive met with initial success. From the direction of Hive Infernus, Purgation Corps X and XI, so 10, it's X10 and 11 I believe, cleared huge tracts of vegetation around the remnants of Cerber base, enabling fortification to be shored up and reoccupied. In the wetlands of the Porgy Basin, Martian, Patrexi and Archaeocopter squadrons. I imagine it's actually called Taraxi, not Patraxi. Traxi and Archaeocopter squadrons conducted phosphor bombardments from above, driving frenzied orcs out of their lairs into massed fire of Krieg and Cadian infantry. Phosphor is going to be amazing in 10th edition because it ignores cover. I imagine, but for armies that are probably going to enjoy 11th edition, the most, is Tower with their mark lights, allowing everyone to just ignore cover. The Thunderkin of a Photon, allowing any unit they shoot, well, they shoot at a unit, any unit that now shoots at it ignores cover. The Admech with just so many units that just completely ignore cover. And Hellhounds or the Guardsmen are probably going to see a lot more use. Again, because they can, like, once they hit a target, they ignore cover on that target. Inquisitor Coil 2 lent his talents to the war effort by eliminating Orc war leaders. Despite heavy losses amongst the Purgation Corps, the Orcs were slowly but surely pressed back. Armageddon commanders allowed themselves to believe victory might be possible. Towering Knights neutralizing the effect of cover. Yep, as long as they're close enough to the enemy. And having high terrain as well would also work. And the ability to actually move through the terrain without being targeted will be amazing. Armageddon's descent into planet-wide war came swiftly and without warning. Flashes of emerald light illuminated the storm-racked skies. Fingers of lightning lensed down to scorch a poisoned earth. Combatants, Orc and Imperial, stopped gazing at the conflagration. Meanwhile, the crews of orbiting Navy vessels and defense stations yelled in shock and terror as glowing rifts in reality opened up around them, vomiting forth lumpen Orc vessels in their thousands. At the heart of the fleet was a monstrous ship, all wreathed in crackling energies. The Orc fleet opened fire at point-blank range, tearing Imperial crafts apart before their weapons could even be primed. And from yawning hangar bays, spilt a fiery rain of dropships and fighter craft that plummeted towards Armageddon's surface. So are you saying that Wazdakka didn't get his speed? Wazdakka's speed war did not arrive before Gaskell. Like, his speed war was destined to hit Armageddon since I was a little kid. And he's the slowest war in history. Oh, chat disconnected and reconnected. I didn't show my internet breaking out. But that. Maybe aircraft might get it. Yeah, aircraft should get ignore cover. My goodness, that would be useful. Oh, aircraft would be great if they get a rule where they ignore cover and any non-aircraft unit that they shoot at loses cover. Or like has to take a battle shock test or something like that. If they had an ability like that, every single aircraft just naturally had that ability as long as it's not in hover mode. That would be amazing. That would make aircraft, without changing the points, without changing how powerful they are, it would make all aircraft significantly more worthwhile. Hi, 666. Maybe it's hair and tortoise problem. Maybe. Gaskell just decided to build a giant teleporter. At the heart of their fleet was a monstrous ship, all wreathed in crackling flames. Yeah. Oh wait, we've already done this bit. Caught utterly flat-footed by the onslaught, General Locke's forces were stretched thin across dozens of fronts. Now hordes of Orcs were landing across the plains of Anthrad, raining down in their millions and cutting off the retreat route. Rallying what forces he could, the general dispatched them south of the Vulcanus Mountains, hoping they might blunt the Orc advance. Canonus, Preceptor Mercia, and dogmatic Superior Freya pledged to pour a portion of their forces to the relief. The Adeptus Sororitas were accompanied to battle by a mass of militant pilgrims. Scratch militias and desperate penitents rallied to their cause. Oh, we need units like that. I mean, we already have the Sanctifiers, but I want, like, do you know, for fanatic units? Do you know, just like militia units? Do you know, cultists? For Chaos, get cultists. Sisters of Battle need cultists. And the same cultist unit should be open to Black Templar. Yeah, because that would be... And the Agents of the Imperium as well. That would be amazing. Like, do you know, just a cheap unit, terrible stats, they hit on 5s. I do wish the wind would go away so I can spray my Morphine sads. I wish you luck. Meanwhile, amid the Orc fleet, the Space Wolves strike cruiser Ice Troll found itself the focus of an empiric disturbance. disturbances prevented the vessel's crew from hailing the Hive Road until it was too late. Attempts by the Strike Force's Rune Priest to summon aid for the great companies had met only with frustration, his psychic sendings blunted by a wall of howling madness.
Zealous Imperial cultists, you say? Very well, you just get flagellants.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, we already have flagellants with the aqua flagellants and stuff, but they're not cultists, they're penitents. Also, I really need to go because the little cupcake room's calling me. BRB, smash. Bam, bam, bam. Hello. Oh, gosh. But yeah, Zealous Imperial Cultist gets in like, 2 attacks that hit on 4s in melee. Or maybe even just 5s. And then also having Cultist Firearm, 2 attacks that hit on 4s. Strength 3, no AP. Damage 1. Sticky objectives, potentially. Although maybe not sticky objectives. I think all of her attacks should have sustained hits, though. To make up for the fact that they hit on 5s. Gotta love Across and Extremis trigger. 50% more rip and tear. Oh, no hazards anyway. Oh, no hazards. Yeah! Just get off of rip and tear. Arc Fleet. With some difficulty, Commissar Yarrick convinced the Fenrisian Guardians of a need to reach high volcanoes. He bore a device that might, with the Emperor's blessings, prove capable of piercing the interference and drawing the attention of Imperial forces many light years distance. Grudgingly, the Space Wolves agreed to spare of transport to bear the Commissar towards his destination. They, however, would concentrate their efforts on the Deadlands, securing critical supplies of water and promethium that would be required if a war effort were to be maintained. Throne aflame, there's hundreds of them. Wearing the Emperor's name, did they? Less words of Rear Admiral Drosten aboard the battleship and yielding of a Battlefleet Armageddon. Seem to have yielded. Equatorial Jungle. I thought they burnt it down according to the Warhammer community page. Did you say cupcake room? No, the little cupcake room. Do you know, like they say the little girl's room, but it's a little cupcake room, you know. You know? Da 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 da. Arc threat low. So where it's green, arc threat low, distribution for 10 to 30%. Defenses intact, infrastructure repairs possible. Oh no, that's where it's grey. Where it's light green, arc threat moderate. Where it's bright dark green.
Terrible Rear Admiral, 0 out of 10. Less blabbing, more blasting. That's
Okay.
what happens when you roll a double 6 to be sure.
That's me. Threw me a little. Egg. I figured. I just never noticed until I was like, wait a minute, did you go AFK? And then when you did get back and you were rewinding, get to my head. Thank you, splashies. Jesus, check Cuptle. I think his brains had a blowout. Less blabbing, more blasting. That's what happens when you roll a double 6. Yeah. In the wake of Armageddon's most recent season of fire, the planet's arc infestation was in remission. The living firestorms had scoured dozens of smaller tribes from the face of the world, and many warbands had lost fights with neighbouring rivals to claim limited places of safety such as deep gorges. Stinging caves of old bunker systems, those crazed speed freaks who had unwisely sought to outrace the onrushing flames, and those who hadn't noticed the season of fire was on its way until it was too late to run for cover, were all consumed by flame. However, many orcs remained, even with their numbers cooled in this fashion. These tribes seethed with aggression, pent up and hiding. Led by the infamous speed freak war boss Wazdakka, they wanted nothing more than to storm back out into Armageddon's smoke. Oh no, so Wazdakka was already here then. Wait. The first and second war were both Gaskell Thacker, right? So when did Wazdakka appear on the planet? Or maybe it's going to tell us. They wanted nothing more than to storm back out into Armageddon's smoke-shuddered waste and get back to the business of rampaging from one good scrap to the next. It was these orcs that the defenders of Armageddon had hoped to steal a march on with their new offensive. These warbands also transformed from a scattered but manageable threat into a planet-wide horde of eager recruits to a vanguard of a great war, now descending upon the planet's horrified protectors. Look, speed freaks. Oh my goodness, look at that big old orky thing. That sneeze just about sent you into next week. Okay, gotta go. The wind has died down. Yay! Paint! Spray paint while you can. Spawning from the bellies of the lumpen archoid vessels, in fact, they really like to call them lumpoid, don't they? In their countless thousands, ramshackle dropship ships plummeted through Armageddon's atmosphere. The blazing fire trails of their atmospheric entry pierced the hive world's such black clouds. Aboard such craft, Wazdakka guts mech hummed frustratingly at Big Reffer's throttle. He couldn't let any other git reach on. Wait. It just said he was already on the planet. And now it's saying he's racing towards me. Is this before that? Or is this saying that he arrived on the planet now? To get those people? I don't know what this is meant to be saying. I'm so confused. Was he on the planet before or not? Wazdakka Gutsmech thrummed furiously at Big Reffer's throttle. He couldn't let any other git reach Armageddon before him. His warbike's engine roared and rattled like a caged beast. He felt the dropship lurch again, decelerating as it approached solid ground. Wazdakka adjusted his goggles. Somewhere behind him his great oiler fix-it stopped tinkering and reached for a handhold. The ramp began to lower, revealing the mountains of Armageddon, their jagged peaks rising like broken teeth from a sea of ash. Armageddon's seething air howled into the belly of a dropcraft, tearing up Wazdakka's clothes.
Have you seen an orc ship? Symmetry is a luxury the average orc doesn't even know. Lumpen very much describes it.
Yeah.
Ramshackle as well.
Hello, Albert von Despia. The stream's going all well. We're only in the start of the law still. Oops, sorry, it's like right in the bright area. Ramp began to lower, revealing the mountains of Armageddon, their jagged peaks rising like broken teeth from a sea of ash. Armageddon's seething air howled into the belly of a dropcraft, tearing up Wazdakka's clothes. He gazed down at the rising ground and threw the throttle forward. Big Reffer lurched, scattering the orcs and Gretchen aside. Some unfortunates tumbled out of the opening, screaming as they were swept away by howling winds. Wazdakka felt himself pressed back in his saddle by sheer force of his acceleration. He thumbed at the switch, heard the war of the afterburners, and felt the heat of the flames at his back. Big Reffer trailed tongues of flame in its wake as it shot out of a dropship like a bullet burned trail across Armageddon's skies. As the warbike's nose began to drop towards the ashen plains below, as the ground rushed to meet him, Wazdakka gritted his teeth, raised a meaty fist, and slammed it down on a red button mounted on his handlebars. A flash of light erupted from Big Reffer's shock booster. Wazdakka let out a gleeful bellow as flames burst from his warbike's exhaust, and forks of green-white lightning danced across his frame. Then he was gone, hurled through the war towards the hive world surface, and the cauldron of warring engines, burning promethium and glorious high-speed violence that awaited. The speed war descends. So is this before Gaskell or not? I am so confused right now. Caught utterly unprepared by the arrival of the Orc fleet, the defenders of Armageddon were given almost no time to respond. By the time orbital weapons and anti-air batteries flared to life, the first wave of invaders were already slamming down across Armageddon Prime and Armageddon Secundus. Those are the two continents. The final guard of the Orc assault consisted almost entirely of mechanized forces, speed freaks mounted on bikes, ramshackle wagons, and the sloughing squigs of beast snagger tribes. Disparate warbands of orcs leapt upon the isolated defenders and supply convoys, swiftly aggregating into larger cults of speed as the violence escalated. Interhive roadways became drag strips of whooping bands of orc invaders who thundered along them, engaging armoured columns attempting to supply reinforcements or withdraw battered units. Wazdakka Gutsmech was among the first to touch down on Armageddon's rocky surface. He appeared in an explosion of green lightning over the plains of Anfad. This expanse of open terrain divided the equatorial jungle from the volcano's mountains. Astride Big River, Wazdakka warred across ash race and alkali flats, drawing mobs of speed freaks some miles around. Columns of Astra Militarum soldiers retreating from the jungles were overrun, their transports and tanks obliterated in howling storms of dagger. Across Armageddon, the cohesion of the Imperial armies began to collapse. Panic set in, and promising offences became wholesale retreats. Wazdakka's assaults. The Ark fleet had appeared in Armageddon's orbit without warning. Those strategos and commanders who retained a shred of wit of the following chaos surmised that the eyewitness accounts of the Xenos had utilised some hitherto unseen form of teleportation technology. Before Armageddon's defenders could raise the alarm, orcs were streaming into the planet's surface from his flagship. From his flagship Killwrecker, the Grand Warlord directed the onslaught. Wazdakka's Speedwire only formed the spearhead of his conquest. Only when the cordon of violence reached a boiling point would Gaskell decide to join the fight. Wazdakka's objective, impressed on him by Gaskell at the business end of Gork's Claw, was the encirclement of High Volcanos. To succeed at this goal and avoid stoking the Grand Warlord's ire, he would first need to break through the Volcanos Mountains. Okay, so there is going to be a fight between Wazdakka, I guess, and Yarrick? But over here it made it sound like Wazdakka was already on the planet before the invasion. The Meridium and Otium lines were the first fortifications in his path. They had been intended to prevent any advance across the plains of Anfad from the direction of equatorial jungle. Though the Krieg 547th Line Corps defended their positions with determination, the Orcs' breakneck advance ploughed through their minefields and gun positions with relentless savagery. Big rivers seemed to be everywhere at once, a red blur of violent fury. Leading by example, Wazdakka steered his warbike through the trenches and bunkers. He crushed some enemies with his dagger, and reduced others to a red mist with a torrent of dagger. A trail of corpses was left in his wake, mangled by tire tracks in only minutes. In only minutes, the Ark had broken through the trench network in a dozen places. Impressed on, Wazdakka had no desire to get mired into a lengthy battle. He lived for speed as much as violence, and so the Speedwire ploughed on, burning a path towards High Volcanos. Next in Wazdakka's path loomed the Liberation Line, constructed over the ruins of the South Primus front, a far more formidable prospect than the Auretium and Meridium lines. This was the last set of static defences shielding the crucial Mannheim Gap. Though its blockhouses and armed watchtowers were still only partially constructed, the Liberation Line was heavily garrisoned. As the defenders took their positions, ash plumes appeared on the horizon, heralding the coming of a Speedwire. Soldiers hustled to foxholes and trench lines protected by expanses of minefields, barbed wires, tank traps and funneling approaches covered by batteries of heavy weapons. As the warbands that comprised the Orc assault force thundered forward, toward the fortifications, Wazdakka barked commands to his speed bosses. Some peeled away to strike at the flanks, while the bulk of the Orcs formed a gigantic wedge with Wazdakka at its tip. They sought to punch through the defences towards the hive beyond. Also, what's this a picture of? It's space. Okay, that must be the giant battleship of Gaskell. And are these escorts? Anthony, you know how big ships are. Do you think these are just escorts, or do you think these are actually like giant craft? Because this battleship seems absolutely massive that Gaskell has. Zoom, enhance. Give me a moment. Zoom. And then press the button to enhance. Oh, wait, there we go. Yeah. I hope they're escorts. It is 40k, even for escort ships are huge, so yeah, it's probably just that big. I mean, escort ships are generally kind of small compared to your cruisers and your battleships. Like, an escort ship next to a battleship, especially a battle barge, honestly isn't that far from these sizes. Especially next to something like a space hulk. I mean, they could be light cruisers, but they do look vaguely sword-like. That does not help me. They do look like some Navy cruiser, yeah. And if they're cruisers, that's absolutely massive. They look too long to be escorts. Then the Imperial escorts I've seen, they have the same type of prow at the front, but it's like this entire section here, you basically cut out and make the prow bigger. So it's effectively just really, really short. Yeah, they look too long to be escort. Light cruise is about 3 kilometers long, yeah. No, don't bite me, Blair Boris. I'm a cupcake.
Come here,
Cupcakes are
my
friends,
darling
not
cupcake.
food.
Let me take a bite out to ya.
No, cupcakes are friends, not food. So, a ripping storm of fire heralded the Orcs' charge. Orbiting cruisers unleashed bombardments that slammed down the liberation line. Any lack of accuracy more than compensated for by sheer volume. Roaring air armadas swept down to drop their payloads, and the massed guns of battle wagons added their destructive might to a barrage as they thundered toward the cowering enemy. Projectiles corkscrewed through the heavens, exploding mid-air or detonating amongst defenders, stifling bodies dozens of feet in the air. The Orcs were likewise subject to sustained and devastating artillery fire. Shells rained down amid truck convoys and war biker mobs. Storms of shrapnel shredding green flesh and igniting fuel tanks and ammo. Both the clouds of fire and smoke came, Wazdakka Gutsmek, the grin on his soot-covered face, widening as the storm intensified. Overhead, bright red bombers thundered low to scatter their payloads amid Imperial defenders. Just got the Demon Ex Machina Titanic Scion for £3.83. Lol. Nice! I have no idea what that is. But nice! I'm happy for you. Yeah, this seems crazy. Do we not have like orbital defense guns to fire back and feel? Oh my god, I just thought of something cool. Do a bunch of armies have to, you know, like the ability to bombard your enemy using like orbital or siege weaponry? The Mechanicus have their rad zones, what do you call them? No, not Adeptus Astartes. Astra Militarum have their siege detachment. Space Marines have their fleet commanders. All of them can rain firepower, like from either orbit or artillery into the enemy. Orcs should have the same thing. Except each time you fire it, you basically just pick a point on the battlefield and then roll a dice for every unit within 12 inches of it, including friendly units, and it has a potential of hitting them. Oh gosh. Oh no, this is how you do it. Both players pick 1 point of the battlefield, and then you measure a distance between the two of them. And anything of that line, you roll a dice for to inflict mortal wounds on. Oh gosh, that'll be hilarious. Orcs bring back scatter dice, Lameo. That would be fun. If we're doing it without scatter dice, just both players pick 1 point of a battlefield, measure between the two. Oh gosh. Make your opponent choose first, though. So that way you got more control over where it's directed. Wazdakka led a swath of ramshackle orc racers ahead of an orc thrust, driving into the heart of Imperial 9. A furious volume of incoming fire smashed down amongst the vehicles. Several were struck. The rest came straight toward the most formidable defences. Astra Militarum soldiers and weapon crews looked on in consternation at the Bupacidal spear thrust. Their confusion only increased when the oncoming vehicles crackled a dazzling emerald white and disappeared in a flash. Seconds later, the war of engines erupted amidst the defenders. Wazdakka and his shock jump vanguard cast through the warp by madcap orc technology were amongst them. Spiked wheels, axle saws, and metal plows scythed through ranks of soldiers. Big Refer's Psycho Gatler glowed hot as it spat hundreds of rounds into the screaming soldiery. As Wazdakka's assault drove home, beast snaggers of a blood-scourged tribe struck in the west, their ravenous squigs tearing chunks out of the enemy and reducing armoured vehicles to piles of twisted scrap. The east, the mechanized infantry of the Red Hands brute forced its way through layered and fortified minefields, preventing officers from diverting troops to seal the breach torn by Wazdakka's assault. As their slower-moving allies engaged the enemy in close combat, Wazdakka's speed freaks had broken through the liberation line in dozens of positions, rattling deathcopter squadrons, whooping warbiker mobs, and armoured blitz brigades left the flaming ruins of Imperial fortifications behind and converged once more in Wazdakka's wake. With the Liberation Line punctured, the path to High Volcanoes lay open. Yeah! Oh wait, I need to turn this light off, it's way too bright now. The many shock jump dragsters vital to Wazdakka's breakthrough of the Liberation Line were part of Speed Boss Sotsnik's infamous war band. They're shockers. Besotted with all things weird and extra-dimensional, the evil son Speed Boss surrounds himself with mechs of every stripe, all charged with building bigger and snazzier weapons and engines, using shock attack technology. Be it his beloved dragsters, truck-mounted big mechs, trotting shock attack guns and shock boosters, or even weird and wilder weapons mounted on battle wagons, buggies, and planes. If it can tunnel big green holes for reality and chuck things through them, willing or otherwise, Speed Boss Snocknick can find a use for it somehow. Yeah! Demon X Machina is a mech game. Ooh, and it's $59.99 on Steam. Oh, that sounds cool then. Great savings. Desperate stand. Imperial reinforcements were en route to the liberation line from high volcanoes. They comprised several experienced Cadian Krieg and Savlar Chemdogs mechanized infantry regiments. And the entire Armageddon division and mass conscripted hive militia supported by 2 preceptories of the Order of Armed Lady. These troops had reached Volcano's Ridge when panicked news of Wazdakka's breakthrough reached them. General Locke cursed within his command vehicle as he considered his options, retreat toward the Mannheim Gap, when he risked being overrun by the highly mobile Orc forces, continuing toward the liberation line, and his armies might be picked apart. In the end, the Orcs decided for him. Reconnaissance units reported pillars of ash visible to the south, heading straight for the Mannheim Gap. There would be no avoiding a fight. After conferring with the Canoness Preceptor Mercia, Locke offered a heartfelt prayer to the God Emperor, but he was making the right decision and ordered his forces to block the Orcs' path. Battle of Volcano's Ridge. Wazdakka's speed war had been bolstered by fresh waves of speed freaks landing from orbit. Beyond the broken liberation line was Volcano's Ridge, an open expanse of heat-blasted desert dotted with rocks that jutted from the earth like jagged teeth. Honestly, it's kind of lucky that the Orcs only want Armageddon. Imagine if they teleported all of their ships just above Terra. And, you know, Wazdakka just teleported into the Golden Throne.
The Battle Sisters of the Order of Armated Ladle. Times must be dire if the cooks are sent into combat.
Wait, did I say ladle by accident instead of lady? Armated lady, not ladle. Look, I'm dyslexic. It's hard to speak. Speaking's hard. There was little cover to be had, and the ash clouds thrown up by General Locke's relief force were impossible to miss. Wazdakka turned Big Reffer toward the incoming threat and accelerated hard, bellowing with glee as he pulled a flame-spewing wheelie that would make his gods proud. Trailing thick smoke and dust, the cacophonous tide of Orcs met Locke's relief force head-on. First into the fray, Wazdakka rove through the enemy armour, scything down dismounting troops and launching his grabber-dragger to snatch unwary crew members. War track formations, war tracks, and blitz brigades followed, exchanging with fire with tank squadrons. Evil sons, boys leapt from their racing transports onto the poles of the enemy vehicle to pry open hatches, toss bundles of stick bombs into the midst of helpless crews. The far faster Orc vehicles engulfed and surrounded General Locke's spearhead, forcing formations to stop in their track. Tanks and armoured vehicles closed ranks, forming a circular perimeter around disembarking infantry, guns blazing to keep the hurtling Orcs at bay. Wazdakka's speed war closed in, racing in diminishing spiral, throwing up a tempest of ash and firing loudly as they came. Speeding warbikes plunged into the corral, their sheer blunt impact scattering soldiers. They hacked at their victims with rusty choppers. Tank busters engaged Astra Militarum armour. Many were incinerated or blown into ragged showers of gore by battle cannon rounds, but enough reached their targets. Wazdakka fought a rocket shocker, propelled him into the midst of the foe, and away again, time after time. Each lightning strike left behind a trail of mutilated and tire-marked corpses. When you're trying to serve a dense soup and a ladle breaks, a martyred ladle, no! Emerging from his chimera, General Locke observed the unfolding chaos in horror. Any hope of relieving the liberation line had gone. Even managing to stage a fighting retreat to the Mannheim Gap would be nigh impossible. Their own impossible. Its forces were outmatched and barely holding their own. Only the Order of the Martyred Lady was making any measure of progress, with Canoness Preceptor Mercia leaping into the fighting alongside her. Alongside her, elite Sephrim and Infantasia Frey's penitents charged into encroaching foe with reckless fury. Their efforts alone, he knew, would not turn the tide. Already his tanks had been almost eliminated. Other circling arcs were pressing the survivors into an ever-reducing pocket. Locke needed a miracle. A hero returned. With the smoke of the battlefield, the war of thrusters sounded. The Leelgood soldiers braced themselves, expecting a hail of bullets and bombs. Closer came the thunder, and an ember of hope glowed through the gloom. An armoured gunship, its blue-grey hull emblazoned with a canine sigil of a space wolf, swept low over arcs. Black Valkyrie transports followed, door gunners pouring fire into the aliens. Tempestor signs leapt from within, graph shoots flaring as the troops opened fire mid-air. The Space Wolf transport settled low over the surrounded guardsmen. Are we finally going to get the Space Wolf transport back? Oh wait, no, they still have fights for the other one of its that's gone, isn't it? The one that rams into the enemy. That all Space Marines had. Its ramp opening. A tier of Space Marines emerged from within, howling battle cries as they passed bolt to fire into the massive Xenos. Yet it was a fourth figure to emerge that stunned soldiery to silence. They witnessed a ghost. You know the gravy's good when the spoon breaks. When the spoon stands up in it straight. Wait, gravy that dense? I don't know if gravy's meant to be that dense. It's meant to be able to pour. Most recognized Commissar Yarrick at once. All of Armageddon's defenders knew tales of his deeds. They had learned of his duels with Gaskell Thacker and his heroic defense of a hive Hades. But Yarrick was dead. The Bell of Lost Souls had told. Still, there was no mistaking him. The lines of long centuries of war creased his grizzled features, yet he radiated the same intensity he had when he first took arms against the Orcs. His power claw snapped as he raised his stormbolt and turned his glowing bionic eye upon the Orcish hordes. Where's Graves? His pallid waxy visage twisted into a grimace. A shout went up. The hero of Hades hives lifts. The hero of Hades hive lifts. So add an extra S into there. What gravy are you eating? Can I have some? Yeah, you're basically just eating gravy. That's basically soup at that point. Yarrick has returned. Yarrick has returned. A chorus of grunts and bellows passed amongst the Orc infantry. They too had noticed a commissar. They knew of old Baelai, who had slain War Boss, Buckle hard in single combat, defied Gaskell and earned a Grand Warlord's respect. He was to them a figure of misfortune, a herald of death, whose eye promised doom. Orc bosses bellowed and clouted, attempting to shake their underlings back into action as the Space Wolf Thunderhawk. Okay, it was a Thunderhawk, engaged its thrusters and roared away, pursued by Xenos fighter craft. I keep seeing Thunderhawks appearing in lore and stuff, and all they do is just glorified transport. Every so often you hear about the heavy bolters, but I never see it's like, hey, there's a Warlord Titan over there. Ooh, a Space Marine Thunderhawk just appeared. You know what a Space Marine Thunderhawk has? A literal Titan killer weapon on board. No use of that. No firing of a giant turbo laser destroyer that can obliterate a Titan in a single shot. No, none of that stuff. Let's not use that. What do you mean a Thunderhawk has enough firepower to destroy a small army of Orcs? No, we're not seeing that. I guess this really is just a Thunderhawk transport. No guns on board. Oh, for Thunderhawk transports are named so, not because they transport infantry, but because they transport vehicles. Thunderhawk doesn't have enough attacks to take Titan's void shields down. Yeah, but it can fly into the space of a Titan's void shields and then just shoot them from behind. Literally, it can just fly over to Titan, get within its void fields behind it, and then just shoot it in the back. And just be like, nothing personal, kid. Also in 40k at the moment, yeah, they could absolutely obliterate a Titan. Well, maybe not kill it. But an injured Warlord Titan, it could definitely have a good shot against. You know, one that's already had its taken serious beating for a while. And the heavy bolt is the APC. For AP -1. So do nothing to void shields. I mean, if it's in Titanicus, yeah, okay. If it's in the Adeptus Titanicus or whatever, if it's 40k for AP -1, if it's in
You
not
underestimate the scope of my gravy-based machinations. I'm going to melt 2 bowlfuls together into the wrecking ball.
Too much gravy. Don't wrecking ball people with gravy. Roberto Sisters seized the opportunity. Mortifies penitent entrants and Sisters repented carved a foe with the arc. Yarrick bellowed rallying cries, urging Astra Militarum soldiers to redouble their efforts. The Tempestus Scions took up firing positions, blasting arcs from saddles with their hotshot lasguns. Yarrick too, I thought I said waddled, waded into the fight, stormbolt to roaring and old Baelai, spitting glass bolts. At the sight of his advance, confidence strained for hordes. Pockets of warriors wavered and then fled. Yarrick's orders boomed from the Foxcaster, cutting through the din of explosions and gunfire, signalling a withdrawal. Wazdakka fumed. Not only had the fight slowed down, but now a good portion of his lads were legging it. Their flight afforded the Imperial forces a chance to withdraw. Only the Battle Sisters remained, pressing for momentary advantage against the wavering Orc hordes. Pushing Beth Greffer to its limit, Wazdakka plunged deeper into the fight, smashing his way through the Battle Sisters, chasing down fleeing Astra Militarum vehicles. He zoomed towards a column trailed by a wedge of hollowing warbikes, the turret of a chimera tracking him as he burned by. Wazdakka stood hard on his rear brake and threw his weight to one side, wrenching Big Refer into a power slide and angled towards the Imperial vehicle. Laser blasts whistled through the air and struck the warbike chassis, eliciting a gout of fire and a cloud of smoke. Beneath him, Big Refer chugged and hacked. Wazdakka smashed his handlebars in frustration as he ground to a halt. Wazdakka glowered and growled. Old Baelai was back and had gotten away. Wazdakka didn't relish informing Gaskell of this development, particularly considering how dead Yarrick was supposed to be. However, he had won a victory. Of that much, he was certain. The retreating Imperials had left more than 2/3 of their number strewn dead or wounded across Volcanus Ridge. The rest wouldn't escape for long. Already Fixit was buried in a bag of spanners and bolts. Soon Wazdakka would be on the move again. The Titan's outfall's defensive weapons would be small enough you couldn't get through it while flying. Yeah. Depends on which variant of Thunderhawk you're talking about. There's an anti-ship version that could probably number Titan's voids. Yeah, I don't know how it is in what's it called? Oh, what is it called? It's not Imperialis. Wait, is it Imperialis? It might be Imperialis. You know, for basically modern version of Epic 40k. Because I think you got Thunderhawks in that, don't you? And you definitely got Titans. I don't know how good the anti-Titan weapons on a Thunderhawk are against a Warlord. But the book I've been recently listening to, it had a yak where like, what we're going to do about this Titan that's coming up behind us. We've already took it out of the action once. Basically, severely damaged it. They had a Valkyrie smash into its head and take out the the pilots and stuff, and massively damage the crew compartment. And they've already hit, and like knights have been fighting it and hitting like some good hits into it, just we couldn't take it down. And it's like, yeah, literally this injured Titan that's trying to bear down upon them. A Thunderhawk could potentially, with a turbo laser destroyer, could be, and in fact, we're just flying them like, oh, they got a turbo laser destroyer, yeah. I can't remember what else I'd been reading recently, and they had a Thunderhawk, and it just absolutely did nothing. All it did was just drop troops off and leave. Legions Imperialis is, yeah, Legions Imperialis. So yeah, I don't know how good like a Thunderhawk would be for... I know in 40k, a Thunderhawk, you know, gun would be relatively good. I can't remember how many shields it had in the olden days of Armageddon, back when they did have proper void shields. A Thunderhawk could still potentially take them out because it's got a hell of a load of rockets as well. That could be, you could take like the anti-tank rockets. That could easily get through void fields because they all hit armor 12 or something like that. I know in Gothic the Thunderhawks are described as having an even bigger cannon since it has the potential to kill a cruiser in one shot. Yeah. But I guess there are multiple weapon options that Thunderhawks can have anyway, and you don't have to take the turbo laser destroyer. So yeah, old man Yarrick coming back to us like that. A sight I'll remember for the end of my days. Pause. The way this war's going, that might not be long. Sergeant Jennifer Pendergeist of Salafar 186 mechanized. The retreat to focus. Arc bites. And what's this over here? Thunderhawk annihilators. They shed all transport capacity to have an oversized cannon on the back. That makes sense. Wait a minute, my YouTube's broken over here. I want to see. So, where's my Air Force? Here we go. Oops. Air Force. Thunderhawk gunship. Hellstrike missile battery, 4 missiles. Anti-fly. 2 last cannons. Oh yeah, it has last cannons as well. I always hear about the heavy bolters. I never hear about the rest of it. Sort of turbo laser destroyer, D3+1 attacks. At damage D6+6. Yeah, I mean with twin last cannons and 4 missiles, you'd think it could potentially, you know, and the turbo laser destroyer against an injured Warlord Titan, that could be devastating. How is a Warlord Titan currently, though? I want to see. Warlord Titan, Warlord Titan, Toughness 16. 100 wounds, my goodness. I want to play a Warlord Titan now. It's got 100 wounds. Why does the anti-armor missile have anti-fly? What? Because it's actually an anti-aircraft missile, and it's meant to take out other heavily armored aircraft such as other Thunderhawks and things like Stormhawk interceptors, which are pretty tough. Yeah, and Storm Raven gunships, which are toughness 10. They're not actually super anti-armor weapons. Like, they're only damage 3, they're only strength 8. AP -2 is not bad. It can have cluster bombs instead if it wanted to. And it can have a Thunderhawk heavy cannon if it wants, which is more anti-infantry. Warlord is the toughest model in the game. It's not a yeah. How many wounds does a Thunderhawk gunship actually have? 30. That's insane. How much does a Warhound Titan have? 40. My goodness. Warbringer Nemesis Titan. Warbringer Nemesis.
I shall put this unit here. Please deploy your first unit. Okay, I deploy my army. You mean unit? Nope, drops Warlord on the table.
You can't even use it in a normal game. Like, because it's over 3,000 points. Reaver Titan. What a Warbringer? They don't have a model for a Warbringer, do they? Like, if I type in Warbringer here. Yeah, here's a Warbringer Nemesis Titan. Which honestly looks kind of like a Warlord. They don't actually have a model for that in 40k. I don't know why that's, you know, a playable model. Like, they do have a Warlord Titan model. House Rule Titans exempt from points values. Oh, they got rid of 40k. They had a 40k one. I don't remember that. I have to Google this. Warbringer Nemesis Titan 40k. Forge World. Either wait, find an alternative means from across the sea or print your own. Hasn't been on the seen on the website since the website officially launched. Oh, the mode was damaged. Okay, that makes sense. So must have only ever been on the Forge World website. Okay. So that's before the Warhammer website as it is now. It was old and painted yellow. With, I think, black flames making it Legio Foranis. Oh. That looks pretty cool though. It'd be cool if they bring it back somehow. The only Titan that we have hope of coming into plastic, though, is potentially for Warhound. Yeah, that's the only one I can imagine coming into plastic. I mean, maybe the Thunderhawk could also come into plastic. I mean, it is absolutely massive, but could possibly come into plastic. It could fit into a Battle Force box, like one of the big Battle Force boxes. Pasted the old Warbringer one onto the Discord. Ooh. Here we go. So this is it. And that's a Forge World Kriegsman at its feet. Massive model. Whoa. That'd take days to paint. Weeks even. I've heard of a grapevine for Warhound and Thunderhawk are more of a logistic problem than a mode problem. Yeah. The main issue is, I think the main issue is, do they think that they could sell them in large enough numbers? Like, I know they can sell Baneblades in large enough numbers. And Baneblade-sized vehicles to be worth the giant box if they come in. But you'd have to make a box that's basically twice as thick as for Baneblade boxes now. Like, do you know, for size of, do you know, for big battle forces or for starter sets and so on. So that means it takes up more space, but still have to produce it in relatively large numbers to be worth turning into plastic. That means it would take up a lot of space. That means that they'll have to send it off to a lot of places, but would they sell it? Because it would be like twice as expensive as a Baneblade. You'd be looking at £200-300 plastic model, which people don't want to pay. That's much cheaper than buying it in Forge World Resin, but still, people already don't want to pay £100 for a single model. Even if it's cheaper to build an army with that model. And on top of that, is at the moment, there's Forge World models are purposely made to be worse. And it's not because they hate Forge World models, it's because they don't want people paying to win the game, basically. They don't want you to spend £1,000 on a model and it just to be better than anything else out there. They want you to spend £1,000 on a model just for the fun of having a £1,000 model. That's basically it. You can play it, but you know, you shouldn't really be playing it to be competitive. So yeah, they know Plastic Titans would sell like hotcakes, but they don't know how to box it. Potentially, I definitely think the big boxes, like, do you know, for Age of Darkness box would be big enough for Warhound Titans. I think the main thing is just the pricing. Like, would it actually, like, would it sell enough to be worth it still? Though I don't know. Also, you'd have to change rules up. Like, you'd actually have to make them applicable. Like, Baneblades used to be kind of terrible to take back when they were just apocalyptic monsters. So you could only play them in non-competitive apocalypse games. But once they decided to bring them into the normal game, partly just so they could sell more of them because they weren't selling enough of them, they made them more competitive. They'd have to do the exact same thing with things like Thunderhawks, Warhound Titans and stuff like that, which, you know, again, would actually be turning the game more pay to win because not everyone can afford to spend £300 on an army. I've seen the boxes where they send the resin ones in, and if you could reuse those, it would work out. Yeah, I've got the resin Thunderhawk at the moment, and honestly, that box is way bigger than it would need to be if it was plastic. Because the issue with the resin is the resin models are super, super thick walls, because resin is very brittle. Even Forge World resin, which is a lot softer and a lot more flexible. Like, we complain about Forge World resin, but it's actually really good quality for what it is. But if it was plastic, you'd be able to make all of the pieces much, much thinner, and it would retain a lot more stability. So yeah. Also, it wouldn't have a giant chunks of resin that has to be attached to that are like this thick, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, it would be good, but at the same time, I do think there'd definitely be a market for making them plastic, but again, I think there's a logistic issue with like how to box it, then after it's boxed, how to store it, how to get it out to places. Will be a massive expense making it into plastic and making the plastic molds and all the designing process of it. Because the designing process of how to cut them up onto the sprue would take them probably months to work out. And that would be expensive in itself. And then you got the rules, you got the issues of making rules for them, for pricing of them, and would stores want them in the stores? Because, like, would a store want to have this giant box on a shelf? Would they want 5 of these giant boxes in their storeroom? I think that's another thing. And it's not Warhammer stores particularly. It's just any store. Would it have to be an online only model? So it's... I mean, when it comes to things like Warlord Titans, Reaver Titans and stuff like that, it would just be way too big. By that point, the individual plastic pieces would have to be absolutely massive to make it make any sense, and as was Sutra boxes just wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't work. I treat you all good over there. Lucky the star got one. Yeah, I mean, in Britain, it's where, you know, like models are produced and stuff, and where it sells the most. So yeah, I mean, it depends where you live in America. There's definitely certain parts in America, you know, for more populated areas that get definitely a lot more things in the stores. Another picture of a Warbringer alongside its kin. A Warhound. Yeah, I've seen that picture. Bigger than a Reaver, smaller than a Warlord, definitely bigger than a Warhound. I've got a Warhound, except it's not an official Forge Road one. I got it on eBay really cheaply. I was like, maybe it'll be official. It says it's official, but, you know, it wasn't. If you were at the Citadel in Texas, it would be comparable. Citadel in Texas. I'm in the UK. I can... Games Workshop's just a short walk from me. Because everything in the UK is just a short walk away. From what I've heard, it's more comparable to the store part of Warhammer World. Oh, that's cool. I've never been to Warhammer World. I want to visit one day. Retreat toward high volcanoes was undertaken in as orderly manner as could be managed. Though Locke's forces had met with disaster at Volcanus Ridge, the return of Commissar Yarrick had provided much-needed motivation. Small formations of Astra Militarum and Adeptus Sororitas detached from retreating columns and dug into slow for arc retreats. Cries celebrating Yarrick's return echoed across Sparks Channel as the soldiers fought and died to cover the retreat. At the Nassarian Flats, Colonel Curzon's 36th Krieg infantry halted and turned their heavy weapons of battle wagons of Dakfist steelheads, reducing the Speedboys' Blitz Brigade to scrap before being overcome. Palatine Vermeer, meanwhile, led a counter-thrust west, almost reaching Armageddon Prime's western coast before her martyrdom. Such sacrifices, coupled with the temporary rout of many arcs, enabled Locke's retreating force to get to the mouth of the Mannheim Gap, ahead of the pursuing enemy. This narrow pass, bristled with defense fortifications, had been the focus of heavy fighting during previous conflicts. Though it remained a formidable defensive position, the Mannheim Gap was now more vulnerable than ever.
What would you do if there was protective cages and a lion-dragon mix was the UK one?
I got lucky with my Warhammer store being just down the road from me, while it's the only one in the state. Ooh. Oh yeah, there's plenty of shops as well, I believe, across America that sell Warhammer stuff. I don't know if there are any shops actually near me that sell Warhammer stuff, but there is a Warhammer store near me. But I buy all of my stuff online. I can't get out that much. I've actually visited that shop once since I was a kid, and that was the other day. I bought the Black Templar Codex and the Leviathan book. Yeah. What would you do if there was a Protective Kaijus and a Lion Dragon mix was a UK one? I have no idea. What Protective Kaijus and Lion Dragons... I'm guessing you're saying that there's Kaijus that protect each country and there's a Lion Dragon one that protects the UK. I don't know. Probably what I do now with, you know, the idea that the military and the you know, submarines and stuff protect us. I don't think I've seen Never Ending Story, which I almost read as Never Ending. Never rend! Rend them! Rend them all! I want to visit Warhammer World, it's just for money. For money! But what was this? With much of a standing garrison committed to a battle elsewhere and its complement of titans and heavy armour depleted by decades of warfare, leaving the bulk of the remaining forces, including Canonos Preceptor Mercia and her Sephirim elite, to defend the Paris, Yarrick and Locke made for the safety of Hyphocanesis for Curtain Rose. Back in the saddle. With Fixit still completing hasty repairs, Wazdakka found himself lagging far behind his prey. I actually do like the fact that he was defeated, but, you know, not killed. Because, you know, when you're playing the game, you defeat enemy lords and heroes and stuff. And it's like, okay, did Abaddon really just fall to a bunch of guardsmen shooting him? It's like, no, he just got, like, injured or whatever. The firepower came too much, so he teleported away. Did Wazdakka really fall to that Lehman Rush smashing him in the head? No, the Lehman Rush just broke his spike and now he has to fix it. Or maybe it just hit his spike hard enough and it, you know, caused its shock jumps to teleport him halfway across the planet or something stupid. I more prefer that. I was reading a battle report where it was Abaddon versus the Acadian army on Defense of the World. And it was an official battle report in a White Dwarf. And Abaddon got taken out by a Baneblade towards the end of the battle. And the idea was, they just said that he got hit by the Baneblade cannon and sent flying across the battlefield into another battlefield. And they just continued fighting there. I'm like, that's good. I like that. You know, when the characters don't... And so it's fun in lore when, you know, you get characters, named characters, getting taken out.
Tis but a scratch.
Battle.
A scratch. But your arm's been taken off. It's just a flesh wound.
That's, what's his name? That's, Gaskell Thacker, literally, just being rebuilt. Same with Yarrick again, both of them just keep getting killed and rebuilt. I have a shop online at my Walmart. Have them shipped to my post office if they can. Ooh. Back when I was a kid and before, like, I could, you know, buy stuff, for Warhammer shops, Games Workshops they had, like, a computer in the stores and you could use the computer to order stuff online and it would be delivered to the shop. And if you couldn't, and what you'd do is you'd order it online and it would send the thing to the checkout. And as a result, you could just pay with cash or card or whatever at the checkout. And as a result, it allowed me to order stuff and like go onto the pre-orders and stuff. And Yeek. I order stuff that they didn't have in the shop. And I'd just pay for shop, and then I'd just like come in after school, and they'd be like, "Hey, we got your order in." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna build it now in store." And they're like, "Yeah, you do that, girl." There's one 15-minute walk to my house. They sell Warhammer and TCG stuff. TCG stuff, nice. Actually, I think I've seen a couple of places in one of the big cities that has it. My deal just sells bits of everything. Nerdy. Oh, but what's this? He made as much haste for the Mainhane Gap as his battered steed would allow, trusting the god Euler to restore weather to its full function. Eventually, as at the mouth of Mainhane Gap opened before him, a tap on the shoulder from Fixit signalled that everything was back in order. The lights on his instrument panel flashed wildly, and Big Weather's engine roared. As Wazdakka engaged full throttle, the speed wall coalesced around him. again, overtaking and destroying struggling elements of Locke's columns before plunging into the mouth of a mountain's pass. The other arcs were met by Astra Militarum's super heavy armour and the guns of the Vulcanus Mountain Space Defence Fortress. Wazdakka rove a path of destruction through the ground, shattering barrages, guided his steed over jutting rocks, and boosted into the midst of the dumbstruck enemies. He was in his element, lost in the thrill of a high-octane destruction. Big Weather scattered ranked foes and shock jumped amid storms of energy. The thick smog of fumes and rocket propellant settled low in the Mannheim Gap, shrouding all of a noxious darkness, mile by bloody mile. The orcs drove on, surging over and through the overwhelmed defenders. By the way, this dude is insane. Have you seen his stats? Have you seen this dude's stats? I need to show you. I need to show you. New recruit. Go down to here. Where's my art? The art. Zooming boys are stink. Back. Yeah. Where is he? Wazdakka. He's 175 points, right? Remember, Gaskell is how many? 230, isn't he somewhere? Where's Gaskell Fractor? 235, yeah. Wazdakka's over here. Toughness 8, 10 wounds, 3 plus armor save, 4 plus invulnerable save. He gains D3 lost wounds at the start of his command phase. Makes Warbike's battle line. He gets 10 shots that hit on... No, he gets 1 shot that hits on 2s, his strength 10 AP minus 2, damage 3, assault, precision. A precision shot at strength 10 AP minus 2, that's also assault and hits on 2s. And his Psycho Gatsler gets 12 attacks that hit on 4s at strength 6 AP minus 2, damage 2, assault sustained. Compare this to Gaskell Fractor over here. You know, who moves much slower. He's only toughness 6. Again. You know, the beast, the toughest arc that's ever lived is toughness 6, yeah. He's meant to be prime arc level toughness 6. Wazdakka got mech toughness 8. Wazdakka's got 10 wounds, Gaskell Fractor also 10 wounds. Gaskell's got a 2 plus armor save, and he has Makari over here. Just a little arc after Sumis. A little arc after Sumis. I get my Digimon cards and Fire time to time. Nice. I keep forgetting Digimon is still a thing. World living has its perks, but getting stuff sucks. It's true. Oh gosh. Oh yeah. Yeah. Gaskell has Mark's Raw. Does have more range. 12 attacks. Hits on 5s. It's only strength 5. Has no AP. Is only damage 1. Has rapid fire 4. So his shooting is much, much worse. Okay, let's look at Gaskell. In melee, he gets 6 attacks at strength 14. AP minus 3. Damage 4. Or he can get 12 attacks at strength 8. AP minus 2. Damage 2. That's not bad. It's almost on the same par as Skullman. Just a bit less attacks, less AP. Gutsmech, though, he just gets 13 attacks. He gets 6 at strength 10 AP minus 2, damage 3 with lance, so he gets +1 to wound. And another 6 at strength 5 AP minus 1, damage 1 extra attack. So yeah, he is arguably a bit worse, but not much worse. Like, if it comes to doing sweeping attacks, I'd argue that this guy's better. But then he's also recovering every single time. And then he can choose one of these abilities each turn. So this unit's eligible to declare a charge in which it advanced or fell back. Each time it is advanced, don't make an advanced roll. Instead, add 6 inches to its movement, and it can move through terrain features. Or you can, in the command phase, if this unit's not in with engagement range of one or more enemies, you can move them from a battlefield and place it in strategic reserves. Oh, he has Deep Strike, by the way, and Lone Operative. Yeah, Deep Strike and Lone Operative. Also 14-inch movement. So he can move faster than the Eldar. He does count as a vehicle. I guess he does have that. But that means he can shoot into combat, which Gaskell can't because he doesn't count as a monster. Also, you get a smoke so he can get stealth if he wants to. He's got Lone Operative so you can't shoot him unless you're close by, unlike Gaskell, who can get taken out by some precision snipers. He can Deep Strike into your midst. Can Gaskell Deep Strike? No, Gaskell can't Deep Strike. He can lead units if he wanted to. He can't shoot into melee, meaning he's limited to how much damage he can do in melee. Okay, he does give a unit he joins +1 to hit and +1 to wound. That's not bad. And he gets critical hits on a 5. If there's a war. And Makari gives lethal hits, I guess, as well. So, you know, it's not too bad, I guess. Need to go to Birmingham and go to Tokyo Toys again? Nuts. But yeah, considering that Gutsmech is 60 points cheaper than Gaskell Thacker, Gutsmech just feels like a better Thacker in many regards. It feels like what Thacker should have been. Okay, maybe too much speed. Wait, doesn't Thacker have his Prophet of a War ability or something? Oh no, he doesn't have an aura ability like, you know, Primarchs and stuff now. Instead he just has the banner. Oh gosh. Yeah, Gutsmech is more of a Primarch than Gaskell Thacker and it's hilarious. I mean, it does make all of this stuff that he's doing seem believable when his stats are just fat goated. Oh gosh. So where's this? What did we? Where were we up to? He was in his element. Big Reffers scattered ranked foes and shock jumped amid storms of energy. The thick smog of fumes and rocket propellant settled low in the Mannheim Gap, shrouding all in noxious darkness. Mile by bloody mile, the orcs drove on, surging over and through the overwhelmed defenders. All attempts to arrest the momentum of the speed bar were met with frustration. On the outskirts of the gap, bulges sounded, heralding a mass charge of Death Rider squadrons. The Death Corps cavalry met Wazdakka's war bikes head-on with frag lances leveled, blasting dozens of orcs in the saddles. It would have been better if Atlan Rough Riders with, you know, motor charges, but, you know, in return they were mowed down or dragged beneath the steel of the gargantuan war engines. Canoness Mercia and her Sephrem soared overhead, descending to skewer orc riders and engaging in aerial skirmishes with mobs of snarling storm boys. In response, Wazdakka guided Big Refer along a spur of jutting rock and took flight. His psycho gatler spat a hail of bullets and grenades, sending the Seraphim plummeting to the ground. His Grabadakka shot out to ensnare the Canoness, its jaws closing around her, trailing leg and dragging her in Wazdakka's wake, smashing her flailing body into jagged rocks and against tank traps. With each impact, Ceramite shattered and the fragile bones broke and the Canoness ceased struggling. Wazdakka cast her corpse aside. The walls of high volcanoes loomed out of the darkness as the orcs thundered toward the eastern mouth of the Mannheim Gap. It seemed nothing could halt their relentless advance. Ignominious return. Reaching the gates of high volcanoes ahead of Wazdakka's orcs, Commissar Yarrick's Dogmata Superior Frey and General Locke bore grim tidings to the Council of Armageddon. Oops. What the heck? I just accidentally elbowed my keyboard. I never knew I could do that. Reports of flooding in from other... and General Lockbar, grim tidings for Council of Armageddon. Reports flooding in from the planet's other hives were especially dire. Perils reached Archean Tartarus, all were besieged. Even mighty hive Infernus was surrounded by orcs. The continuing flow of water and promethium from the Deadlands suggested that the Space Wolves had met with some success, though all attempts to raise them had been returned with silence. As Yarrick addressed the council, former allies noted his elderly body, ravaged by time and war, was supported by an exoskeleton, and his skin bore a sickly sheen reminiscent of an embalmed corpse. However, he spoke with intensity and intelligence, warning that Armageddon could not stand alone against the Orcoid tides. His armies had faced only the first wave of the Orc onslaught. Gaskell was coming. If Armageddon was to be saved, then a call for aid had to be sent off-world, one loud and urgent enough to cut the psychic cacophony ringing through the rest of the subsector. Unsealing an ancient portable reliquary, Yarrick withdrew a gold-plated servo skull. This was, he explained, Aris Horrifica. The macabre device floated before the council, a mist of scented holy water rising from the thuribles that dangled from its lowest cables. Yarrick claimed it had been crafted from the cranium of a master astropath and graven with the sigils for Astra Telepathica. The Pharos Horrifica would act as both a focus and a beacon for the astropath's choir ritual of lacing their psychic messages with symbolistic significance and ensuring that they would cut through the warp turbulence and the innumerable astropathic distress calls being emitted from the many worlds of the subsector. Yarrick claimed this would enable High Volcano's astropathic choir to send a priority signal that would be certain to grasp the attention of sector commanders, space marine chapters, and myriad other Imperial forces. With the God Emperor's blessing, Armageddon may yet be saved. All Yarrick required was an escort for astropathic relay. With the council in agreement, Yarrick departed, Governor von Ruger and a squad of tempestuous scions in tow, for astropathic relay. However, even if the Commissar's words were to be believed and reinforcements were summoned, Armageddon Prime would still need to be stabilized. Graves, incandescent with rage at the abject failure of Armageddon's military leadership, pointed a finger of blame squarely at General Locke. His initial hesitation and inaction to face a scene of aggression had, she accused, cost him victory. Before the general could protest his innocence, Graves drew her pistol and shot Armageddon's most senior officer dead, much to the horror of the many in the council's chamber. Graves quelled the protestations with an icy glare. Graves is not a nice person. Now was no time for hesitation or mercy. Armageddon needed a ruthless leader, one who would accept death before defeat. Thus, as Locke's corpse was dragged from the chamber, Marshal Gorman of the Death Corps of Krieg was appointed in his stead. No wonder they're selling the Death Corps of Krieg can be Armageddon Steel Legion. Gorman was a cold, calculating commander whose pitilessly mathematical methods of waging war appealed to her own callous sensibilities. He would provide a blunt and unimaginatively defiant leadership High Volcanoes required to hold the orcs at bay. That sounds like a bad idea. Commissars are not nice people, unless you're an Ogren. Unless it's Commissar Kane, Commissar Yarrick, Commissar Gaunt, or Lord Commissar, Commander, you know. Who else is there? I mean, Rain isn't the worst either. There's actually quite a few decent commissars, you know. I mean, like half a named commissars, you know. You could shake hands with them. You'll be like, these are good people. Ah. Subject. Tybolt Fenris Lot. Rank. General. AR 516 1K JV5. Ident number. Crime. Incompetence. Just cause. Insufficient further demonstrated during the attempted relief of a liberation line. General Locke argues that he was not provided with the resources required to reach his destination, nor given sufficient intelligence as to the disposition of the enemy forces. These arguments were not completely without merit. These arguments, while not completely without merit, cannot explain losses of a magnitude suffered. Were it not for the timely arrival of my fellow Commissar Sebastian Yarrick, and the stern rearguard actions fought by the order of our martyred lady, the defeat would likely have resulted in further casualties. Sentence: death. Body cremated and service record purged. Executing authority: Commissar Fania Graves. To be fair, Locke could have been a better commander, but I don't think, you know, a Kriegian commander is, you know, the best option either. What time is it? It's 7:30. I don't want to go on super late, so we'll put a bookmark here for next time. Well, not tomorrow. Tomorrow we got to build. Tomorrow I've got the cool stuff. And by cool stuff, what do I mean? Guys, what do I mean when I say cool stuff? For new vehicles, I'm looking for a bookmark, by the way. I say a bookmark, basically just any piece of paper I can use as a bookmark. Oh, there's right tack all over this thing. Doesn't want to come off. Colonel Commissar, put some respect on it. Yeah, so there's a lot of, you know, not bad Commissars. Mars bars are cool stuff. Mars bars are cool stuff. That's why the Tech Adepts of Mars made them. Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious. I really want, you know, some Adeptus Mechanicus thing where you see like the Adeptus Mechanicus handing out food, and it's like really sweet, nutrient dense, calorie efficient, you know, food product, and it's like basically its description is just exactly a Mars bar. And they're like, ooh, the Adamek bar is really tasty, isn't it? It's like, yes, the Adamecs really know how to cook that food. Now, if this is covered in white tack, that white tack's not going to go anywhere. Oh, wait, the white tack is coming off. Yeah, okay. Okay, here we go. I've got one of these old paint sheets. Anthony is a silly goober. Talan is small. Dress is fancy. Talan is stinky. Francis is stinky too. Yick. Oh yeah, that's where I had to write I think I got an appointment on stream, and I had to write down the time for an appointment. Oh gosh.
What are we doing now?
We're putting a... No, I don't want to do this. This wouldn't be very good. I don't want to accidentally get paint all over the pages. Like if it got too warm in here. What do I have? I got a hairband. No, that'll be too thick. Look at our bookmark. You know, I'll just get this sheet and I'll just put this sheet down. There we go. Just with sheets I use to do my brushes. Next time we've got bookmark. I always forget Mars bars. Mars bars are amazing. If you actually want a lower calorie version, Mars ice cream bars, like half the calories for some crazy reason. Really nice. Actually, if you're going on, I don't know. Aren't like Mars bars like got a lot? No, they used to have a lot of fat in them or something, didn't they? Hi, French Puff. We're actually coming towards the end of the stream. I've got, you know, I might as well just get it out already for tomorrow because we've got a morning stream tomorrow. So it's Guardsman week this week. Tomorrow, I managed to get my hands on one of these. I wasn't going to get it originally, but I just kept seeing it in the stores because, you know, they brought a bunch of stock out. And one of the shops I buy from is often, you know, they don't sell out immediately because I've got like 12 different shops that I know from. So I managed to get it. It's still like 20% off and stuff. I just keep seeing these. I love them so much. I love it. Is it called for AMX 10 or something like that? Is that 8? AMC. I can't remember what they're called. It's a French vehicle, really cool. It's kind of a tank destroyer, but it's kind of like, it's actually would be bigger than these, I imagine. It reminds me of that though. It's a recon. It's mostly a recon vehicle. It's armored vehicle, very fast, goes over pretty much any terrain, and it's meant to support forward recon operations. Which how the French do forward recon operations is with overwhelming force. It's like, hey, if there's an enemy over there, calling into command, we found the enemy. Calling into command, we've obliterated the enemy. But yeah, it's really, really cool. And arguably, probably one of the best vehicles in Modern Warfare. It just reminds me a lot of that. All you need to do is add some like missiles onto this, you know, like hunter killers onto it, and it'll be perfect. Give it a give it an option for like anti-tank cannon on it. Really make it a tank destroyer. I do hate that it's melter cannon and it's heavy last. Have you seen what they did for the update? Changing the heavy last cannon into just a normal last cannon because it just had last cannon stats. I mean, if it had a proper heavy last cannon and a proper melter cannon, it would be kind of cooler than it is in the game. And Milky Bar is a different thing for the UK. Oh yeah, Milky Bars and Mars Bars are like... The Milky Bar in the UK is a very soft... Oh, it's not marshmallow, but it's like a very soft, almost marshmallowy centre with chocolate around it. I think what we call Mars bars in Britain is a Milky Way in America. It's similar to a Milky Way. Mars bars have this very, very thick... What is it? Is it nougat? Nougat, whatever they call it, with caramel on top of it and then surrounded by chocolate. Really tasty. They're similar to a British Saladin. Yeah, but also similar to a Saladin. Their roles are more similar to the reconnaissance vehicles that we have today. Do you know, things like, do you know, the Striker, the French vehicle and stuff? Because this is far quicker than a Saladin was. Like, its speed in 40k and how it's described in lore suggests it's, you know, as fast as bikes and jet bikes and stuff. So it's really, really quick. Its entire thing is to move rapidly, shoot stuff. Way faster than a Saladin would have ever moved. I mean, it does perform a similar role to Saladin of, you know, being used by forward reconnaissance and so on, and be able to go over terrain that the bigger, heavier tanks wouldn't be able to. I'm getting Mars bars tomorrow now. Nice. I might ask to get some, you know, Mars bar ice creams because it's getting warm again. I need to look at like the calories and stuff in them. But yeah, it's got some infantry. I'm probably going to use this infantry rather than build them normally. I'm going to build my artillery pieces and probably use these infantry on the Kriegian artillery pieces just so I don't have to use the Krieg bodies. The Krieg neck is so annoying. Where's the Krieg? So do you know normally, if you look at this guy here, I'll turn this light on, you'll be able to see better. Just under here, you can see where there's like a hole, and this is where the head just rests in. She hates necks. This guy, though, you can look at the connection between the head and this shirt, this jacket here, and it's just a flat connection. It sits here. The neck is molded onto the model itself. That means all the heads I got ordered that have rounded necks don't fit on this, and just cutting off a rounded neck piece doesn't work because it actually goes up to like the ear level of a Kriegsman almost. It's not just the neck, it's like the lower part of the head as well. So I'd either have to cut off the back part of the head, which just doesn't work with the heads I've got, or I have to cut down this, or really just drill out to hole there, and it's just so much work. And when you got like 200 bodies, well, maybe not 200, 120-ish bodies to do that to, it's just insane. So I've just decided not to. I've even ordered for the Death Corps of Krieg riders. I just ordered some torsos off Etsy to use instead of Death Corps torsos. So yeah. That thing can definitely neutral steer French superiority. Yeah. Hippogriff, nah, just a rat in a tank. Hippogriff is definitely a rat in a tank. I can imagine it just vanishes at the start of the game, then appears in your spawn with a mischievous... Actually, I think there's an ability to do that. On one of these new detachments. I can't remember which detachment it would be. It's either one of... I can't remember what it was. I swear I saw something that you could do that. I was like, is it really that useful? Because you don't have the super cool things. No, it wasn't Borgwin, obviously. Bridgehead Strikes Difference, Designation Task Force. Yeah, no. Okay, Warhammer 40k. Astra Militarum. Look at all the corrections here. Oh, that's so annoying. Steel Hammer. It wasn't Steel Hammer. Was it Armored Infantry? Armored Skirmishers, yeah. No, I mean, you can do just grand strategist it out of the way, but I swear there was one of these things that allowed you just to throw them into... Order the advance. Advance. No, never mind. Might have been a different thing then. Yeah, and Bridgehead Strike is a completely separate thing. Now, I mean, you could definitely do that with a grand strategist and stuff to some extent. Now, it might have been one of the older things. Oh, so this head pat's been going on for ages. Why is this head pat lasting so long? Go away from me. You're going to try and make me bored. But yeah, so we're building this tomorrow. It's going to be a morning stream, so 11 GM, well, BST time, which is summertime. I'm really excited for all of these vehicles. And look, another Virgo Dawn. Yeah! Yay! Actually, this is what decided to make me get it because I really enjoyed building my other Rogaldon. I was like, yeah, you know, that was a much better build than I expected it to be. Eating Pringles and spicy sauce like a champ. Nice! So how much you paid for all of this? For this? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't keep track of it. Now, I managed to get this really cheaply. I got it for my usual 20% off. So, you know, not too badly. I didn't pre-order it or anything either. So, yeah, $250. LMAO. No, it wasn't that much. It was, I'm gonna have to look it up now. You said last time you ordered a box that you got another box. Is this for one box? Maybe. Or last minute term looks the same to me. No. I ordered the Combat Patrol for Ass Horses in, but instead this one came. But I ordered it at like half the cost, right? You know, should be, you know, because it was from one of those second-hand stores. But they only sell Warhammer in sealed boxes. So, but they said it was going to be for Horsey one, and instead it was this one instead. And I decided, you know what, I might as well just keep it because, you know, it was an even better deal. So this was that box. Look at those infantrymen. So Armageddon box is a different box. Yeah, Armageddon box is full of tanks. This is full of infantry and a sentinel. And look at that guy. Look at that silly man. And it's got a command squad in it. And it's got artillery in it. And it's got... Well, this has, you know, the exact same infantry. And also this thing. And a tank. And a tank. And a tank. Although technically only this is a tank. This would be an APC. And... yeah, an APC. Maybe an MRAP. It looks like it'll be a mine resistant. No. The tracks are definitely not mine resistant. Tarvux would be an MRAP. Meanwhile, this looks like an armored fighting vehicle. Infantry fighting vehicles generally are transports. So they're like an APC with some decent weapons on board, like a Bradley tank. An armored fighting vehicle is generally something that's light to armored than a tank, but might have weaponry on like the same level as a tank. Or, you know, similar sort of levels. Yeah. For troop carriers, definitely more WW2 coded. Like the M3 half track. True! But if you look at this front part here, ignore the tracks here. If you look at how high the engine block is raised, the armoured slits, the extra armour panels, and the wide berth around the wheel casings that seem to channel inward, it actually seems more MRAP piled. Except the big open top side of it. A lot of it definitely feels mine resistant, but as soon as you put the half track on the back, it stops being mine resistant because tracks are not mine resistant. They're like incredibly vulnerable to it. Wheels like this, with how it's arched and stuff, it would be mine resistant. Not because wheels can put up with like being hit by a mine. A mine explodes underneath it, and what it does is it funnels the entire blast to the wheel, and the wheel just goes flying off. And as a result, you pick the wheel back up, you put it on the car, and you know, you can drive again. It might be damaged, but you can still drive it afterwards. You can get it to the engineer bay where they can just replace the axle, which should be relatively easy to replace. They're basically designed to be kind of modular and easy to repair. It's what makes them so mine resistant. Yeah. My friend said the The Hippocampus is like an M8 scouting car, but I just don't see it besides having 6 wheels. Definitely more AMX 10S. I feel like it's an AMX 10 mixed with a Saladin. It's much too low down to be an AMX 10. An AMX 10 rides really high up. And arguably AMX 10 has way more firepower than this thing does. So, I mean, smaller turret, but more firepower from it. So yeah, this ride's really low down. It's clearly designed for speed and to go over multiple terrains. Like the AMX 10 has a mild issue of if you're trying to go over really hilly terrain, especially not just directly up the hill, but sideways. It's kind of top heavy, and because it rides really high up, it falls over. And on top of that, because it's quite high up, you like if you ever stand next to one, they're massive. You know, it's easy to notice. This thing rides really low though, so it seems more designed for those hilly terrain and to, you know, not be spotted. But definitely seems a lot more Cold War vibed. Nice 0.6 wheel cars kind of blend together. It does. It does. I mean, most of the vehicles I feel are... I mean, it's Games Workshop. Most of the vehicles generally have more of a British inspiration. I say British. Most of the Guardsman vehicles anyway, and even a lot of the Space Marine ones. Although obviously you've got the exception of the Predator, the Rhino and stuff, which are obviously inspired by the Gavin, the M113. Yeah, then got this thing definitely feels like it's a blend of the Macarius tanks are obviously inspired by, you know, Germany tanks from WW1 and stuff. This thing seems half inspired by one of the American tanks, I forget its name, and a British tank. What else is there? The Chimera seems to be inspired by a great variety of different APCs like it. I say APCs, IFVs. From the Cold War. So there's definitely a lot of things. Type 87, RCV and the likes. Rogue Dawn is like a Pershing, especially once you take the sponsons off. Yeah. There's actually a few vehicles. I can't remember what we're talking about. But it began with an A or something. But it had these guns on it. The other small ones. Then there was a British tank that had this exact thing on it. And if you actually take off the, you know, this front cannon, it's got these 3 slots behind it. And that's exactly the same as a British tank has. And through one of those slots is a heavy machine gun. And it definitely seems to be the... It definitely seems to be inspired by multiple vehicles. And the same goes for most of these. I imagine there's a lot of inspirations going on. The Cadians, they're definitely trying to go towards a more Cold War vibe on them. Early Cold War. Hence the scout cars, the half-tracky stuff. But also trying to go for more modernized vibe to them as well. Since the fall of Cadia. The Kriegsmen, the Solar Auxilia have all their Malkador tanks and stuff. The Kriegsmen don't have any of their tanks anymore. I really want them to bring the Macarius tanks back. I absolutely adored them and would love to see them in plastic. It's nice to see the Malkador tank. I don't know what the Malkador tanks are inspired by though. They definitely feel more World War I and WW2 coded. So yeah, definitely WW1. But anyway, thank you for coming to the stream. I've gone way too long into just randomly talking here. Look at these guys. I like his drum-fed auto gun. Look at that cool thing. So, well, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be building these 3 things. I don't know how long they'll be. I've checked the box. It does have all the content it needs to have in it. I don't know how long it would take to build these things, but I hope it'll be relatively quick. If it is super quick, maybe we'll build the Rogel Dawn. Maybe we'll go on to an armored sentinel or something. I don't know. I could go for hours and type out tank talk. Yeah, but we can't. But I can't. I got life to live.
Cute conjurer.
You guys are cute. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I am crazy today. There we go. Oof. But I got my books to put away. So for the next law stream is on. I got a head pass. I got a head pass here too. What's happening? I need to take these head pads off. What's happening next week? Next law stream I think is on Saturday. Or is it on Sunday? Saturday or Sunday, one or the other. And we'll be finishing off the Eye of Terror book then. And once we've finished that, we'll probably go back to the Armageddon book. But until then, I'll be seeing you. So thank you for coming to the stream. Have a good rest of your day. Work hard but play harder. Eat good food. Sleep well. Dream of cupcakes but don't eat the cupcakes as if it's not food. Goodbye everyone and big love hearts to you all. Yeah, and don't forget to like the stream because it helps me out. Smash. Yeah. Love you all.